she's talking about. Hold on 1 second, everybody. Kitten is being very cute. I don't know if you'll hear her. She's meowing at me. She's being really cute. Hi. Are you gonna say hi to chat? She's being such a goober. She's being such an insane goober. It is actually just silly. It is legitimately silly. Hold on, let me change this. Boop, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect, right? I had to change the colors up. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful, what, Friday? I think it's a Friday. Yeah, it's a Friday. Yeah, exactly. I have a helmet, so I'm somewhat what? Oh, with OSHA. I'm like, you have a helmet while you're in stream? That's something. That's something. Yeah. Hi, Rom. How are you guys doing, though? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Also, I think we're gonna have to go back to 40K after today's stream. I think Monday we'll have to do 40K again. I feel like the good faith of the 40 community has started to dwindle as we've been in fantasy for too long. I see it just by the start. Hello, TJ. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hi, Warboss. Hi, Strider. How are you, Tetra, in the land of make-believe? Depending on what you mean by this. All good, I have the flu, and still at work on night shift. Ooh. I hope that the night shift goes well for you, though. Love the color palette. Thank you. I like having the alternative option being on this one. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. Fantasy, what is this heresy? Okay. Yeah, Dawn? You saying hi, chat? Yeah? Oh, she's such a little goober. Doing good, department, having potluck lunch today. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds fun. I'm living in fear of what to come, the commission. Oh, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. It's just something that your meme made me think of. The memes that you have made of the new outfit made me commission something cute and quirky. Ooh, pink hair and purple top. Yeah, it matches my daytime office. See? The daytime office has pinker hues, so I feel like it was a cuter option. Has Tetra gone over to the Slaaneshi side? No, it's just cute and pink. Not all pink and purple is Slaanesh. Such a cute meow. Oh yeah, Dawn is such a little baby. She's such a little baby. 40K will be like, I'm back in the freaking building when it comes to Yeah, no, I guess they just don't like fantasy as much. It's not as popular, so I guess it makes sense. I guess it does make sense. I mean, did I hear heresy? Inquisitor on the way, please. We knew you were, oh my god. Well, gotta go hide that. Gotta go turn off my, my alerts. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, you're being so cute. So that she's silent. Wow. Commissar reporting for duty. Hello. We have lots of fun stuff planned for today, so it's all good. Dawn, Dawn, that's not safe. Dawn, that is not safe. Oh my god, Dawn, be careful. Anything that she has, she's using now as like her, okay, I'm on the baby's bassinet. That means I can possibly get on top of the shelving unit that you have all of your bunny figures, so I can jump up there and kill them. So that she's sock lady is crazy. I mean, that's not that. Were you not here for when that started? Fantasy is the older and better setting, honestly, compared to 40K, but 40K. Yeah, Dawn? Can I talk to chat? Can I talk to chat, please? Can I talk to chat? Alright, do you have a problem with me talking to them? No, but 40K brings in it brings in the peoples. Tetra, I guess since they make it Tetra, I guess it makes sense. I have a friend who loves 40K, but he's the type to not give fantasy a tiny bit of chance. Yeah, no, that's probably the case. It's fine. It's fine. It's something I just keep tabs on because like it's noticeable, right? I do have exciting news though. I'll have more to show you guys soon, but the contracts are signed. So I have a really exciting new partnership that I can't wait to show you guys. I'm debating whether or not I wanted to do it on YouTube or Twitch. I'm thinking I'm gonna do it on YouTube as a live stream and let it be like a live stream exclusive. So I feel like that'd be really fun. Well, it's a good bridge today. Video some 40. That won't matter, Pen. It won't matter because the title doesn't draw them in. It won't draw them in. Right now we're operating at about 50%, and that's okay. It's okay. People are gonna watch this and be like, "Wow, Tetra's complaining." No, it's observation. But yeah, you are such a goober, Dawn. You are such a goober. Okay. What else? Also, we have a rival to the Black Templars. It is actually, and the partnership is not with Capcom or Bandai. I wanted to work with this company, and I'll tell the story again when I actually do the partnership stream for them, because I'll be doing 3 streams for them over the course of the next 3 months. I wanted to work with them back in 2023 when I first started, and they said to me, we really appreciate that you're interested. However, we want you to improve, grow your brand before reaching back out to us. You're a bit too small, and that was totally fair and understandable. However, it was, I wanted to do better. So needless to say, I reached back out to them, and I'm really happy that they want to work with me. And it's kind of like a full circle and validation for the growth that I've achieved. So really excited for that one. It's a really cool partnership, and it's something I actually think the community is really gonna like. So, what's the Templar Fantasy equivalent for the fans? It's not the Templar Fantasy. The Milo fans are actually rivaling it. The Milo fans are quite literally rivaling the Black Templars in frustrating comments. Some of the nicest people from the community, honestly, like the Google debunkers, have been lovely. But then, man, some of them are really nitpickers. Like they are. What do you want, Dawn? But yeah, some of them have been whoo. Honestly. The Who. They call themselves the Google debunkers because that's the Miniminuteman fan base. And Milo's great, and his community for the most part is really lovely. But like, man, the few people are just headache inducing for real. Hi Fernando, how are you? But anyway, we do have a fun list of things today. So I have the protagonist video from Warhammer. I have more Dylan. I also think I'm gonna work on making a Dylan supercut tonight. Like at least for all the bad ones. Like I think I'm gonna make a bad recipe supercut and re-release that, because I did that for the Australia reactions, and people seem to really like having it all in one video after the fact. Kid wants all the attention today, doesn't she? She really does. She really does. And then I'm gonna decide which Mini Minuteman video we want to watch, because I'm torn between the nightmare world of conspiracy slop or the giant skeletons of Lovelock Cave debunked. I just finished the last Dylan video. Nice. I love that. Sponsor, come back when you're bigger. Tetra said, okay, but yeah, honestly, yeah, I just worked my butt off on that one. Also, Pen, thank you for checking that. Yeah. No, I figured that the second I saw who ran the study, the almost the instantaneous like fear went away. As soon as I see the leather handbag being the source of that study, I'm like, okay, I'm no longer concerned. Holy Pink Lime, what I missed? What's up? How's it going? Do you guys want me to stay this way all stream? I'll stay this palette all stream if you want. I literally have a coworker who's talking about the giants in the KPS the other day. Okay, so do you guys want that? Cause I'm up for either. I still have to figure out what other videos to put in here too, because that's only 3 here. I could do another tasting history with Max Miller, even though I haven't put out the first one yet to test to see how it will do. Worst case scenario, we'll just go into members only. Dawn, you're so cute. Oh my god. Yes. Oh, you want me to stay color palette? Okay. Fine. Do you accept us calling you the Drakari cat? I mean, I literally have been called Drakari Archon. I literally have my own mini. I'm gonna be making a short of it. I have a custom painted Lady Malice figure that I actually had done by a professional studio, and I'm gonna make a short about it. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. I like this palette. Not that I dislike the usual one. Tetra is in all color. It's just something different, right? It's just something different. Which tasting history? I have no idea. I watched the Emperor, was it the steak sauce one before, so we can watch another one. I still have to edit. Like I said, I still have to edit. I have to do a bunch of stuff tonight. I don't know where I'm gonna find the time of day, but I'm gonna try my best. I have to edit for me. I have to edit for Yura, all while still watching the baby and doing other stuff. Pink and purple equals Slanesh theme. So I mean, not only that, I still owe you guys Slanesh themed art, but I have a lot. I have a lot of art that I've gotten for you guys. There's a lot in the pipeline. Let me check right now to see how many commissions I currently have out. Like, we just got 3 back. Oh. Okay. Every single one. Okay. So I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 commissions currently in queue. Dude, Dawn is on like crack today. Oh my god. Sadly, I must leave. Gotta get back to work. Free servitors, behave yourselves. The blessed lady. I love you guys. There was a hardtack tasting history. Could be a bit too. You're so funny. You're so funny. Yeah. See, Warboss thought the same thing. That joke was there. But yeah, so most of these arts you guys won't get for. Oh my god. What is this kitten doing? She's literally on crack today. She's just running around like a nutter. I mean, the pink and purple work well together. Well, like I literally changed my background to go with it. I have 2 The reason I made this palette was because my artist who does my backgrounds made 2 versions, the day and night, and the day one, which is this one, doesn't really go with my normal palette. So I made a palette that works with it. Maybe she just pooed? Nope, she did not just poo. I call it the I have energy phase. She just decided that right now. I did add 1 tasting history to the sheep, but didn't have time. Did you add it? I didn't see it. You just added it this second. I just saw it now. I just saw it now. I saw it literally pop up in real time. I'm calling shenanigans that you just found it. I am calling shenanigans. Okay. That one's gonna be really fun. That one's gonna be really fun. So that one is now on the list. We're gonna watch that one today. But yeah, so let's see. The Warhammer protagonist one's 30 minutes. If we watch the Giants of Lockwood Cave, or Lovelock Cave, it's 1 hour. If we watch the Conspiracy Slop one, it's 38 minutes. So we're probably gonna watch the Giants one. I think the Giants one will be fun. So, probably do the Giants. Like I said, that's an hour and a half now total. So assuming that I'm going to pause and talk, it's at least 2 hours right there. Dylan will be about 10 minutes. That will last about 15. And then Caligula is 26 minutes, which will probably take about 40. So, all right. I think we'll do it. We can do the Giants one. The Giants one's an hour long, but we can do it. Okay, we have 4 videos at least queued. We can always, if we're still super good on time, we can add something else small. I do like adding in small videos because I do think that they perform quite well. But I do think that having the long ones would be fine too. Hi Tetra, how are you? I'm great. I'm great. How are you? I hope that you're doing lovely. Oh, let me point out to you guys why one of the comments that was driving me nuts, right? So I don't have patience for a lot of these, but like, of course, we got one comment that was critiquing me for skipping ads, to which I explained to them, I'm like, I have literally talked to a lot of these creators who I react to, well, not a lot, I've talked to a couple of these creators that I react to, and they are okay with skipping older ads. It does nothing for them. Additionally, people seem to think that like all reactors are parasites, which is fine, I guess, if you think that. But larger reaction channels bring traction as well to those original creators. It's a give and take. You don't have to agree with that, but that is the case. And I had somebody last night who was going off about, you know, but wouldn't it be more ethical if you like change the thumbnail and also like cut more of the cut some of their content out and then, you know, blah blah blah. I'm like, Gaber, that's literally reaction content. I'm more than happy to not do reaction content when the algorithm does not just bury my non-reaction content videos. Like, if gamers, if you're watching this now and you want me to do non-reaction content and you actually are like, oh, well, reaction content's lazy, blah, blah, then go to my Nuzlocke that is posted earlier this week and hype it and watch it and give it a thumbs up. Do that. Let the algorithm see that my non-react content is worth watching. And then you don't need to complain anymore. Crazy. Crazy. The algorithm loves it. The algorithm literally, just for comparison, I could react to anything and the video will have about like 4,000 views in the span of like a day, right? My reaction video yesterday has 5,000 views. My Nuzlocke video that is around the same length of time that was posted 4 days ago has 600. It gets 10% of the viewership over the course of even a longer period of time. It is horrible. It is horrible. So I hear you finally won. In regards to what? In regards to what? Same with Bricky. Pancreas has got a huge influx of viewers from reacts to the videos. As long as people either ask or credit him, he's fine with. Well, you know, like I said, fun thing with Pancreas, you guys can pick his brain as much as you want. He's gonna be joining me this Sunday. But so if you're watching the Super Bowl, screw you guys, because you guys got a Tetra Pancreas collab instead. We're gonna be playing ODST with Pancreas. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. YouTube never sent me the notification for the Nuzlocke. Yeah, no, it's not even the viewer's fault. It's literally YouTube. I looked at the analytics and it literally did not send notifications out to my viewer base who did not have the manual thing for recommend all content to me or notify me of all content. Because when you click notify, it gives you a tailored notification thing. It's going to notify you only what it thinks that you want based on the algorithm. It's going to send you what it thinks you want. The only way that you're going to get my Nuzlocks is by having the notification bell on for everything. Vex Sports, Tetra and Pancreas nerding out while screaming at John Halo for the win. Yeah, true. What is this Super Bowl people's... I mean, look, the Super Bowl is a fun experience, even if you don't like it, right? Like, I don't like football that much. But I used to love hanging out at Super Bowl parties. It was a fun time. It was a fun time when I was younger and hanging out at parties. Even the manual notify dropped in hours late. Really? So that's even worse. Yeah, click the subscribe button, then the real subscribe bell icon. Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad how it works, right? So, couple things I have learned. Because I love looking at analytics. First thing I'll tell you is about the post section. Community post section only sends out one a week. People still find it, but it will only notify you of my community posts once per week. I do know, however, that I can bypass this if the artwork that I use for the community post for the day is thicker in nature. Whenever I've joked about this before on Twitch about how the community and how artists always draw me thick. Whenever I post artwork on YouTube that is slender, this is not an exaggeration. You can go look at the community tab thing and look at the difference of how many likes there are on posts on a slender piece of artwork versus a thicker piece of artwork. All the thicker ones have over 1,000. All the slender ones have like 300-400. It gets double the interaction. Odd, I only get text notifications on YouTube versus anywhere else. I have no idea what to tell you, but that's weird. 5 seconds of play, then half an hour of pause for American football. Give me rugby instead. Lost to concussion. Suck it up and play on. Yeah, no, it's 30 seconds of deliberation, 5 seconds of gameplay, 2 minutes of ads. If you want me to actually not even exaggerate it, I'll make it even worse for you. Let me tell you the actual time frame for football. That's not an exaggeration for like the sake of hyperbole. It is 30 seconds of deliberation for a play. After those 30 seconds, there is literally 5 to 10 seconds of gameplay. After that, you repeat that 4 times. That is the 4 downs. Now, if you get to 10 yards on the field, you can reset. So it can go a little bit longer. But typically, you will get about 2 minutes of gameplay. And then, unironically, no joke, exaggerate, you'll get 2 minutes of ads. Rinse, repeat. You get so many ad breaks on football, it's crazy. No, you only get like 2 because the reason they do that is they give you more ad breaks with shorter ad time. Hi V, how are you, love? Algocon likes what it likes. Dude, they tell you that you can bypass the algorithm by having videos hyped. If I look at the hype ratio of the Nuzlocke, it is probably way higher than any of my other videos because I actively asked you guys to hype the video and it still is shunted beyond belief. It is so silly. It is sandwiched between 2 videos that have 10,000 views and then you just see this thing in between them with 600. If you cut down a VOD of a game with 0 ads and none of the time between a football game is 34 minutes of action, 3.5 minutes an hour. Yep. American football is generally... the funny thing is that I'm not even a sports person. American football would be interesting if it was not for the amount of ads in it. Just like soccer would be way better if you didn't have men falling over, crying and being babies trying to bait penalties. Like, literally, that's all you need. The thicker the meat, the better. The delay of that, you just got to that now. Like if I go to my post right now, I am almost incentivized to get curvier artwork because of the fact that it gets less. So my post yesterday, my community post for going live yesterday, is at 360 likes, right? It's a very slender one. Slightly curvier one from the day before, 624. Okay, right? Then we get to where they kind of cap out. They get capped out around 700 if they're not like that, right? Then you see those two at 700 below it that are slimmer. Then we have a thicker one over 1,000. Then we have a 500, a 700, 400, 300, 500, 500. Scrolling down, we get to the next thick one, right? 1,000. 500, 500, 600, 500. Even the Drakari one, which is amazing. Same. Keep going. Still the same. 500, 600, 500, 600. Get to the next thick one. 1,000. Scroll back down. 400, 400, 200. Keep going. Same thing. Then a repost of the same image because I forgot I posted it twice, but it's another thick one. 1,000 again. It is such a silly statistic that my community has a preference like that. How about No, that would only happen if I lose a bet, and that's not happening. I'm not making any bets today. I see this as an absolute win. We're down with the victims. What are we talking about? And I'm probably gonna be in and out here and there. I'm talking about my YouTube community tab, and about how like the algorithm on YouTube works. So the audience wants bears. What? I would be neither of those things. I was trying to be somewhat humorous with it, but no, someone said something about cuts of steak, and I tried to continue. Gotcha. It's fine. It's fine. Interesting way to start the stream. I'm just talking about analytics. It is a literal analytic that I find interesting. Yeah, you know what, Alan? It's not happening though. It's not. There's no betting today, so it's not happening. Dylan, why are you being like this? That rhyme? That rhyme is like the worst political slogan I've ever heard. Dylan, what are you doing? God, she's such a goober. Remember, Tetri, you're actually a 50-year-old ball man in your mother's baby. You got me. The bigger the future, the better I like her. Wait, the bigger the figure, the better I like her. The better I like her, the more what? Huh? Okay, all right. Okay, this took a weird turn. This took a weird turn that I was not expecting. I'm literally talking about analytics. I'm just talking about analytics, and I'm just talking about like how a specific asset gets more clicks. That was it. That was it. It's a song? Okay, it's a song. It's a song, it's fine. It's okay. Alright. Anyway. It's days like this, it's like these, I hate the English language. Y'all need Jesus. I don't think Jesus is helping anybody in this chat. I don't think Jesus is helping anybody in this chat. Not gonna lie, Moto was my favorite Madagascar character. Wait, that was a Madagascar song? That was a Madagascar song? Get some water. Oh my god. Alright, anyway, so let's go into the videos. It'll be fine. Everything is Daijobu. You need a horny bat? I do. And I think I only like Rainbow Socks. Yeah, so you're telling me that I've like somehow reverse conditioned you into having a thing for Rainbow Socks. That's saying something, Strider. That's saying something. Jesus left us long ago. True. Being raised as Jesus is why I'm like, you know what? That's fair. You know, that's fair. Anywho, moving on. I just want to go watch some Warhammer. Chat, Warhammer. Doesn't Warhammer sound nice? Huh? Warhammer. People, Warhammer. Yeah, it's weird, I know. Oh my god, what have I done to my community? What have I done? Really ever... May I know where I can find your... Wait, may I know where I can find your Rylanor Ancient of Rite song? I haven't sung it yet. I've only sung it a little bit on Twitch. If I do karaoke with the Rylanor song, it'll be on Twitch. Unless I do a full cover. Which I currently owe like three covers. I did actually use my cover track. Finally. I did finally use my cover track for Lonely Day. For System of a Down, because I had a custom guitar riff made by Nyan Nyan, and I was able to sing along to that in karaoke. That was really fun. That was a really fun time. But I have a lot of really fun streams planned. So I will let you guys know. So when I do the partnered stream, the stream with the new partner company that I'm working with, that I'm really excited for, which I can tell you who it is. Like I'm partnering now with Sakurako and Tokyo Tree. So when I do that stream, it's gonna be like I'm probably gonna do a hand cam stream for it. So I might just shift over, and since I'm gonna be showing the boxes off anyway, I'm probably gonna do a Gunpla build. So maybe I'll do some Gunpla building while we're enjoying some treats. That'll be kind of neat. System of a Down has been my favorite band for over 16 years. I'm sorry, I've been 26 years. I love System of a Down because that song always goes hard. You know, it's I forgot how old I was. Yeah, I used to blast it all the time when I was driving. It's like, such a lonely day, and it's mine. The most loneliest day of my life. Tokyo Tree. Yeah. I'll have like a code and everything for you guys too when that happens. But like, yeah. Unboxing mukbang content. No. Which model? I have a pretty big backlog. I would love to start working on my perfect grade unicorn. I won't even dent it in the span of one stream, so it will take quite a lot. Not my favorite band, but they're good, especially live. We're all 40 years old, aren't we? Oh my god. My audience, I can show you my demographics. YouTube gave them to me, so I know how old you all are. Greetings, Tetra. The pink hair looks nice. Thank you, honey. Yeah, I'm getting there, Guardian. Greeting. What else I missed? Wow, I only heard of them from Jobby the Hong, and you're saying Gunpla. You saying Gunpla is why? Wait, you only heard of Gunpla recently? I have quite a few Gunpla. I have two master grade Barbados that I've built, a bunch of high grades that I just built casually, and then I have a perfect grade unicorn that's been sitting in a box for about a year and a half because it is very taunting because it's like a 20-hour project. Like, you guys think that putting together, like, the Bellacore model was a pain in the butt? It's, like, 10 times worse. I'm willing to bet Tetra's demographics skew older. What? That's my demographics skewing older? Never. It's not like my audience literally is, like, obsessed with calling me 40. It's not like they're projecting on me. Never. They would never do that. They would never ever do that, right, chat? You would never do such a thing. Okay, let me go look at my media kit. Let me tell you guys what my demographic is. I will tell you right now that a solid 50% of you guys, 50% of you are between the ages of... No, you're between 25 and 34. 50% of you are between the ages of 25 and 34. Almost my entire audience is between 18 and 44. but I actually have a very large percentage of 35 to 44 compared to most creators. I have nearly a 17% rate of 35 to 44. So I also have a high percentage of female viewership compared to a lot of people, which is great, and I love that. Even though my girlies are quiet in chat, but it makes me happy. I'm an outlying minority. You 40? You don't look a day past 25. Well, I mean, I'm an anime girl on the internet, so I'm timeless. I'm older than 50% of you. Yay, we aren't all infants. So if you're doing a lot of content like that, you'll definitely get older people. That's more than okay. I like the older audience. Excluding the recent VTuber, the Warhammer audience tends to be on the older side. Of course. I like having the older audience. It makes me happy. You guys are a lot cooler. Like, I'm gonna be real. I like my older audience. Look, I don't really need the skibbity Rizzler stuff, okay? I am literally a mom. I like my cozy time. I like my hobbies. I enjoy my plastic crack and cardboard crack. You know, I enjoy having the older audience. You guys are really cool. You guys are really cool. Actually, it's closer to 10%. It's closer to 10% wisdom. Hey, I'm only 33, not old yet. Unicorn, of course you have a unicorn model. I bet you paint it pink and purple. You're such a... I kid. Unicorn, it's black and gold, you goober. Tasha doesn't need the Skibbity Rizzler. She already married one. I did. Yura is a Skibbity Rizzler. This is true. No brain rot. And I'm at the age my parents were when they had me. That's enough to make me feel old. It's weird to think about that, actually. The only sad things, right? Like, when speaking of the parents thing, I was thinking about this recently. Because having a baby, you know, you put different things in perspective, and I realized I was looking at my mom's obituary for various reasons, right? Like I was looking some stuff up for Ancestry, even though I know I know a lot of my family history. It was because my mom was so obsessed with family history that I knew as much as I did, right? So like I know about my heritage because of that on her side. But I decided to like go a little bit, dive a little bit myself in as well. But like I didn't realize my mom's already been gone for like 6 years. Like it's crazy. So she never will get to meet, you know, my daughter, which sucks. But yeah, she's been gone for 6 years already. It's wild to think how fast time went by. That sentence aged like mentally 7 years. Depends on which version. Tabletop, absolutely the PC version is probably younger. Yeah, time flies. It's crazy. My daughter is almost the age. Wait, is almost the I was when she was born. Oh, your daughter's almost the age you were when she was born. Gotcha. Time creeps up on you that way. Yeah, it really does. It really creeps up on you. But yeah, no. So the reason I ended up looking up ancestry stuff, right? I was curious on her side how long they've been in the country for, right? Because like that side of my family is French, but they're Creole. They're Creole, so they're from Nolans, and I was curious just how long they've been here, because like my Italian side's only been here like for what, like because. Remember, I'm a typical American mutt, right? We're a melting pot for a reason. I have one side that's Italian Egyptian. I have one side that's French. But nobody on the Italian side or the Egyptians came here like before 1900. The Creole side apparently has been here since like 1850s at least, which is really crazy. It's really crazy to me. It's crazy to think Alexander conquered half the world by my age. I think comparing yourself to people of yesteryear is not a practical thing. You know, I feel like a pile of dust. Wait, why? I was 9 years old when the first Space Marine game, man. Oh. How old were you guys when wait, I know a game that like I bet every one of you played. How old were you guys when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out? How many years old? How many years old is Star Wars Battlefront 2? Cuz I know you all played it. I know you all played it. Hang on. It's 21 years old. It's not 9. It's 21 years old. You're thinking of the remake. The remake is 9 years old. The remake is 9. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was made in 2005. I don't remember the age. 50, I think I was 3. Oh my god. Dust, dare I say. It came out in 2005, yeah. I played the original XCOM. I would have been 19. Just stop. I can feel myself aging rapidly by the second. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait, I'm gonna make it worse. I'm gonna make it worse. Oh my god, that's so funny. That is so funny. The original God of War is 21 years old too. Oh my god, Resident Evil 4 is 21 years old. Oh my god, Civilization 4. Civ 4 is 21 years old. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look up the age of Mass Effect. Oh, I know. Oh, it's so funny. All right, we've yapped for 51 minutes. Let's get into the videos. I need to start getting through stuff because otherwise poor Yura is gonna fall asleep. All right. The OG Final Fantasy VII is 32 years old. Oh. Okay. That's a thing. That's a thing, huh? That is a thing. All right, let me do this, and let's do some arms crossed. I do love my crossed arms. My nails even match. Look how freaking good this looks. You can't hurt me with such recent releases. I played Jurassic Park on the Sega Genesis at launch. Yes, but did you ever play Blazing Lasers on the TurboGrafx? That is the real question. I remember playing Final Fantasy VII when I was 10. I remember going to Toys R Us and it being in the bargain bin. I remember it being in the bargain bin. Okay, all right. Let me get this. It's okay, Warboss. We still love you. Even though you're actively a pile of dust, we still love you. I just want you to know that. I just want you to know that, okay? You are loved. Okay, let's turn off my music. All right. Let's get this ready to go. Boop, there we go. That is weird. I won't question why I did that. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. So we are going to be watching why Warhammer wow, I can't talk today. We're watching a Pancreas video. We're watching Warhammer Protagonists Are Terrifying, okay? Let us go. This one you guys asked me for a lot, actually.
Warhammer has plenty of things in it that are absolutely terrifying. Even ignoring Warhammer Horror, which I have on reasonably good authority, is a smart thing to do. Most people would agree that if you look at something like a hive type...
To be fair, I feel like the Warhammer Horror is not as bad as people made it out to be. I remember we watched the video talking about how, like, the ship that got consumed by the massive organic, what was it, the Tyrannid ship? Right, the Great Maw or something like that. It's vicious and gross, but like it's not the end of the world.
Tyrant, you're probably recoloring your pants brown. To say nothing of the Dark Eldar, who get the gold medal in fates worse than death.
Hey! We love our Dark Eldar, okay? The Drakari are just quirky little IKEA shop, like they're craftsmen. They're misunderstood. This is slander already, even though Pancreas likes them.
Or the Vampire Counts, who are vampires and scary by default. Hard not to be frightening when you got ghosts in your army, you know? And of course, there's plenty of individual characters that are horrifying all to themselves. Conrad Kurz, Conrad von Karstein, both named Conrad, both completely insane, and both of them are tied for the last person you'd ever want to meet in a dark alley. Especially amongst the eviler factions, there's all sorts of horror to be found. But that doesn't mean it's just the bad guys that are terrifying. To be entirely honest with you, most characters you read about as the protagonists of any Warhammer story is terrifying in their own right. They end up at the thickest of battles, leaving countless dead in their wake, and by the end of it, they've done things that by all rights would make the average person terrified. And just because October is past at time of uploading doesn't mean we can't talk about some real scary folks in the setting. Horror's a year-round thing. So today, let me tell you about some of the standout characters and a few other things in Warhammer lore that if you spend a little bit of time thinking about them, you discover that they're worse than plenty of the things that already go pump.
I mean, we're gonna get into Godric and Felix, right? I'm sure Godric is like a terrifying individual, right? From what we learned about him, so I'm assuming he's gonna be in this list.
Up in the night. But before we get to Warhammer time, tell me, do you like...
Are you guys, I'm sorry. My dishwasher decided to be really loud out of nowhere for a second. My bad.
Like food? I would assume so, given that you are presumably a human being.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, remember, I have been given permission to do this. Okay? I have been given permission.
We're going to start off with the inspirations for this video themselves, and spoiler alert, yes, I did mostly just want to spend more time talking about Godric and Felix, so I made a video idea to give me the excuse. Godric and Felix are of course many things, as is fitting for the two characters that I believe have the most amount of Warhammer books explicitly dedicated to them. They're of course brave warriors, either because of a religiously mandated death wish, or because the only other option is death, for Godric and Felix respectively. They're murder hobos, because unless there's only one of something in Warhammer Fantasy, they've probably killed it, and in some cases, they've killed the only one of something in the setting, like whatever the hell the Sleeper was.
Wait,
and
really?
They're funny, because sometimes their fight
The hell's the Sleeper? The hell is the Sleeper?
more like slapstick comedy. Case in point, I'm pretty sure the only opponents to outright beat them in combat were two schmucks wielding a couch as a weapon. Which by power scalar logic means those two could each solo a bloodthirster, by the way, just in case you didn't think power scaling was stupid enough already. Scary might not be the first thing to come to your mind, though. Felix's inner monologue is usually how he's desperately holding back the urge to piss himself in fear, and Godric, while the single deadliest combatant in all of Warhammer, is usually not going around killing innocent people. Usually. Don't interrupt him drinking, and that statement doesn't have to be a lie. Spoiler alert again, it's the thumbnail of this video, but the Skaven don't view them as the heroic icons of Warhammer Fantasy. The Skaven, and Thanquol in particular...
He didn't talk of it, but it's something hard. Wait, what do you mean, the Sleeper? We do not have time to explain the Sleeper? Really? Really? Okay, comment section of the video. Tell me what the Sleeper is. Write me books. Write me books about what the Sleeper is, please. Thank you. Mwah.
View them as bringers of death and destruction wherever they go. There's never been an exact body count for the amount of really anything this pair has slaughtered, but with the Skaven I can guarantee that between direct combat and as a side effect of their doings, it's at least in the 5 digits. Picture you're a clan rat during a battle this pair are in. You're of course afraid, because all Skavens are cowards at heart, but it's the baseline level of fear that the Skaven always operate at. Afraid of the rat behind you stabbing you in the back, afraid you won't be able to successfully stab the rat in front of you in the back, and afraid one of the man-things might get a shot off at you too. But all things considered, you're surrounded by other rats to take the hits for you, and the finest horrors of Skavendom are assaulting the no-furs. Everything should be okay. Then one of those weird orange-haired dwarfs starts cutting his way through entire formations of rats at a time. Every swing is at least one dead Skaven, usually 2 or 3 at once.
Oh my
You're
God.
getting closer and closer to him, or rather he's getting closer and closer to you, and you're realizing that the concept of exhaustion seems to be afraid of this dwarf too, because he isn't slowing down. Suddenly a cart barrels through the area you're fighting in, with a rat ogre hot on its trail. Perfect. Once the rat ogre takes care of the dwarf and the blonde human on the cart, it'll turn around and kill this dwarf. Then the human chucks a bomb down its throat, blows it up, and then leaps off the cart and starts killing rats too. This happens in the series. Slightly exaggerated on my part, I admit, but I'd wager that's how it looked from the Skaven viewpoint. There's a reason that when Gotrek showed back up in
Okay, that sounds pretty cool, not gonna lie.
the Mortal Realms in AOS, Thanquol's reaction wasn't to ask who he was because he forgot, or to casually dismiss him as some relic that can't stand against him nowadays. No, Thanquol freaked the hell out because that's Gotrek Gurnison, and just because he's missing his taller half doesn't mean he's any less of a monster. If anything, you can argue that he's worse now, because his moral compass didn't quite make it to the Age of Sigmar with him. Even other good guy factions view them with no small amount of fear. For Gotrek, as I've said before, he made Teclis freak out. The guy could blow up cities with a thought, and the moment he looked
Now, we did learn, right, in the books how he becomes a Slayer. I don't know yet, right? But in the books it does explain how Gotrek becomes a Slayer.
at Godric and that fancy axe he was holding, he started being a whole lot less dismissive of his newfound companion. If it was Godric in the Immortal Empire's trailer at the meeting instead of Thorgrim, the word short wouldn't have left that elf's mouth. For Felix, it's a bit more of a low-key thing, and spoilers for one of the later Godric and Felix books. I think it was Elf Slayer, but I don't remember exactly, because when you read 18 books and 6 omnibuses within the span of about a year, the specifics tend to meld a bit in your brain. When Felix met Max Schreiber again, it had been no...
The internet has ruined me so much, because as soon as he said 18, all I thought of was Ram Ranch. I'm not elaborating.
A small amount of years. Naturally, Max had aged, because being a wizard doesn't mean you don't grow old. Felix looked identical, though, and when Max pointed it out, Felix at first thought he was just being polite. But Max insisted with no small amount of concern that, no, Felix, you look exactly the same as you did over a decade ago. In the settings of Warhammer, someone magically not aging is cause for worry, because there's probably something sinister going on. Felix, as it turns out, had stopped being a completely normal human being at some point in their journey, or was being kept alive by the powers that be for an unknown reason. One of those things is true, both are scary to consider, and I'm not going to tell you which is true because you should go read the goddamn books yourself.
I need to read. That sounds... now I want to know. I didn't know this. Wait. I mean, I know what happens to him at the end, right? Or roughly, like, I don't know the details, but I know what happens to him at the end. But I didn't know that he doesn't age. Oh my god. I have too much I need to read. I finally got my headphones so I can listen to my Caiaphas Cain book, but there's so much I need to read.
They're really good. Beyond that, a lot of the praise Felix gets comes from what I assume extreme circumstances preventing it from becoming a bit horrifying to onlookers. During the final book, Felix doesn't quite understand why the humans traveling with them are so insistent that he's some heroic figure. Sure, he's taken down some pretty nasty chaos monsters and warriors, but Gotrek did most of the work. It just didn't factor in that most people are getting cut down, Gotrek or not, and he really is just a badass. But now let's imagine that scenario without the end times to give it context. You're some Imperial State Trooper, which means you're a random schmuck given a spear, a helmet, a chestplate, and some other armor if you're lucky. Your squad's under attack by a Chaos Warband, but just before you get obliterated, Gotrek comes in and takes the leader head on. Felix, meanwhile, cleans up the rest of them and then offers you a hand up. From your perspective, it isn't that gif of Mercy showing up to save the kid in the rubble. It's this grimy dude who looks halfway feral from the adrenaline coursing through his veins, reaching down for you after he cut down some of Norska's strongest insane asylum escapees. You probably aren't going to be feeling hero worship or awe. You're going to be feeling the need to curl up and pray to Sigmar that you finally wake up from this nightmare.
Aww.
And remember, Gotrek survived into AOS in the realm of chaos. He fought so long and so hard that eventually demons stopped attacking him. In his own words, they grew bored. But tell me, do you think that even if the other 3 chaos gods stopped, that Khorne would have pulled back from a fight like that? I don't think so. I think they were afraid of the dwarf. And anyone that can scare the Chaos God should by all means put at least a little bit of fear in your heart.
Yeah, see, like, from what we understand of him now, like, in Sigmar, right? Because he's basically a god now, right? I'm so curious as to, like, what the limitation of their, like, what's going to happen with him, right? Because I don't know how many books there are in Age of Sigmar about him. I'm assuming not a ton. But I'm so interested in Godric's story and to see where he goes.
Because if he can make the primordial gods that ended the world fear for their safety, what can he do to you? And if nothing else, from a meta perspective, this is the last pair you ever want to have in your little adventuring party. Because it doesn't mean that you've just gained two of the strongest allies you could hope for. It means that you and everyone around you are now the side characters in a Gotrek and Felix story. And without much spoiling, those tend to not have a very long life expectancy. This duo is horrifying. They're fun to read about, they're some of the best characters in Warhammer period, and by Sigmar, if I was in the same postcode as them, I'd leave as quickly as I possibly could. On the subject of those two though, Thanquol. Thanquol is another character that you usually laugh at first and then keep laughing at, because he is the horned rat, silliest clown thing, fighting his toughest battle fights. Every story he's in has him failing at something. He fails in Gotrek and Felix because Gotrek is very much still alive, and Thanquol had nothing to do with what got Felix in the end times. He fails at remaining at power, although he does succeed at somehow getting it back to lose later. He fails at communing with the demons of his race, because when you accidentally summon Scarbrand instead of a Vermin Lord, then things probably aren't going to plan. Granted, that is pretty spectacular, but still a failure. Then you watch Thanquol rail a line of Warpstone and delete a Skaven assassin with his magic. One moment he's there, the next he's not. Because Thanquol is one of the most powerful characters in Warhammer Fantasy. It's just he's such a failure-prone idiot, you never quite feel the full extent of what he can do. But I promise that if you don't have plot armor, you don't want to fight Thanquol.
Now, Thanquol doesn't become a god as well, right? He becomes like, what does he doesn't he become like a more powerful being in Sigmar? Because he also makes it through Sigmar. He's like, I don't remember what it was. I know he becomes like the #1 rat underneath under the Great Horned Rat, right?
It'll end horribly for you. Let's go through the two big reasons as to why. Reason 1, Thanquol without failure involved. I know that's an insane concept, but hear me out. Thanquol is one of the single most powerful mages in Warhammer. He's almost wrestled blimps out of the sky, only being stopped by another one of the most powerful wizards in Warhammer. Additionally, even though Skaven are highly resistant to Warpstone, they still can suffer some ill effects, but Thanquol never really seems to get any of those, which means it's basically a free power boost for him. And he's the most Skaven-y Skaven to ever exist. He backstabs everyone who comes within 3 feet of them, and if he doesn't, he horribly abuses them. If he's not doing either of these things, it just means that he isn't in a position to do it at that moment, and he'll sure as hell try later on. All that power in the palm of the world's greatest megalomaniac. Whenever he's around, people are dying, and he's incredibly influential too, like I said. Sure, it waxes and wanes as he fails and then BS's his way back into power, but at any given moment, Thanquol can probably afford to throw the worst of Skavendom at you. So even if he doesn't get you because you're a blank from 40k that got lost in Fantasy or AOS, Bone Ripper version 40,000 probably will. But what about when he's failing? Well, he's even scarier. Failure for most people is usually bad for them. Sometimes people fail in ways that harm others, but usually it's just bad for you. You fail a test, so your grade goes down. You fail some task or other at work, so you have to spend more time working on it, and there might be other penalties. Thanquol fails, and then a whole bunch of dwarfs and Skaven have to deal with Scarbrand. Thanquol fails, and the Iden and the Thiepkin have their existence revealed to Nagash, as well as millions of Skaven being drowned.
I'm not gonna lie, those minis are really cool looking though. Like the one with the water cape. That's really, really sick looking. Like, I love the turtles. Oh my god. What? I have never seen these. I have never seen these minis. They're so neat.
Thanquol fails, and everyone in the area but Thanquol have to deal with the consequences. Thanquol is scary both because he's incredibly powerful when he needs to be, and because everything he does is like a Tom and Jerry skit if it played out in real life where we don't have cartoon physics. Turns out when an anvil falls on your head in the real world, you just die. But moving into 40k land for a bit, how about we look at the Primarchs? Any of them, it doesn't matter. They're all mind-shatteringly terrifying, from Guilliman and Sanguinius to Angron and Kurz. One of the reasons also applies to Space Marines themselves, so let's talk about that first. Transhuman Dread. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly sure that it's an unintended side effect of the Space Marines' creation. Sure helpful though. Basically, you see a Space Marine, this huge armored soldier that you probably consider to be an angel of your god. The baseline feeling is already awe and probably a little bit of fear. You know, in spite of everything in your religion telling you that these are angels, that these men are capable of terrible, terrible violence. Bonus points, of course, if you're some form of traitor, or just generally a person the Imperium doesn't like, because in that case, you also know it's pointed at you. And then you see them move. In the blink of an eye, they close the distance before anyone can react and rip you in half. If you...
The demon minis from 40k look as good as they do because they're on loan from Age of Sigmar. I mean, I have a Be'lakor mini for that very reason.
Do fire back, there's a decent chance they dodge the shot, and if not, it'll probably not phase them anyways, unless you're a real good shot or you've got a real big gun. It can make people just freeze up. Fight or flight is not home right now. Please leave a message at the death rattle.
Oof.
Scale it up to the Primarchs, and it's pretty much in the same vein as getting told to be not afraid. Sir, you're the son of the Emperor, who even if I don't call a god, I still revere him as one. This is the scariest moment of my life. This is something that's definitely headcanon of mine, but I like to imagine that every time someone talks to a Primarch, they by default have to have some amazing willpower. Because the average person would just go, Primarch, and just blue screen. If you know about the origins of the Primarch, then yeah, this makes plenty of sense. They're pieces of the Emperor himself, with each of them embodying something about—
Wait, don't, and I know I'm gonna be corrected on this one, because I feel like I'm remembering something wrong. Don't blanks get, like, physically sick being near, Primarchs? Something ridiculous. So, wasn't there something? I feel like there was something about the blanks with Primarchs. I don't remember specifically what it was. I know that. What was it? I don't remember what it was. Please tell me how to react to. I can't react to the secret level episode like I've said before because it will get me hit with copyright.
him. And of course, if you think that whole Moloch business is true, then there's also some chaos juice in there that the Emperor took to help make him. Even if you don't know about those things, there's—
People get physically sick near blanks. That's what it is. Thank you. Thank you.
still coming into play. You just don't fully grasp the reason you look at the really tall guy and suddenly feel unworthy of continuing to breathe. Alternatively, you can picture it as an almost sort of overflow error. The awe and reverence you feel goes over the limit and it turns into terror. And while they're of course born of humanity and have very human traits, they're also fundamentally inhuman, because there isn't a single natural thing about the Primarchs. They were created in a lab using the pinnacle of genetic science available to mankind, and the magical knowledge of the eldritch horror that is the God Emperor. You don't need me to tell you the Emperor can be scary. He eats 1,000 people a day. You don't do that and not be at least a little bit scary to most people. But a lot of people talk about the Primarchs and only ever really call the obvious ones scary. Kurz, Angron, the big bad boys who helped ruin everything, even more than it already had been ruined. Which is fair, those guys definitely have a leg up in the field of making me shit my pants, but the very existence of the Primarchs is horrifying. From an in-universe religious perspective, it's like I said. Be not afraid? Sir, I'm terrified. From a meta perspective, there are a million different laws, both natural and man-made, that they surely break with their existence. Though not always jump scare scary, the Primarchs are horrifying. For every reason you can think of that someone would be unsettled.
Yeah, exactly. Vulcan, I'm stuttering so much today. I don't think I slept enough. Vulcan, Chaplain of the Word Bearer, is absolutely the scariest of all. Not quite as scary as, well, I mean, let's be real here. Erebus, the Primarch of the 18th, the huggy boy. We love Erebus here. He's the sweetest little guy. You know, Vulcan's a lot scarier.
Settled by a space marine, multiply it by 1,000 for their fathers. For some less spectacular, but still certainly unsettling people, the Eldar. All of them. This is more of an in-universe thing, but even though I love them, I have to admit I'd probably also be unnerved by an Eldar if I saw one. I of course would get over it and immediately resume my normal tendencies, but at the first meeting, I too would be a bit freaked out. Remember that as much as the Eldar are elves, they're not Legolas. For starters, they are truly beautiful. That's not to say Orlando Bloom isn't a handsome fella, but the Eldar are on another level. The most beautiful race to ever exist. Too beautiful, even.
Too beautiful.
The Eldar aren't supermodels. They aren't the love of your life who in your eyes is the most beautiful person ever. They aren't even time to open up a private tab kind of beautiful. They're so beautiful it loops around to be unnerving. Like they scaled up out of the uncanny valley but then forgot something and turned right back around. Imagine an anime character in real life, but they still have the proportions of an anime character.
Oh.
Depending on how the Eldar are being portrayed, that's what it is to look at one. This one admittedly isn't always the case, since many times in official art they are just hot person with pointy ears, but sometimes they are portrayed this way. They move in a way we see as wrong too. It's like flowing water combined with how a cat moves, as if it's both effortless for them to walk and as if they're a predator through and through.
Yeah, okay, so he makes a good point. There'd be a lot of Uncanny Valley-esque with the elves and from how he's describing it.
Creature born to be the top of the food chain, one that will always be a predator and only isn't devouring you alive because you're 10 times bigger than it. You can tell I'm more of a dog person. They don't just walk over to say hello, they appear at your side. You see movement, you register they've gone from point A to point B, but they didn't walk over. It's unsettling. Not perhaps outright scary, but much like their beauty, it registers in your brain as something fundamentally incorrect as to how something so human-like should move. It's like the building up to a jump scare. Whether or not one comes, you feel uneasy. Watching them converse with each other would also be unsettling.
I'm curious though, like how is it portrayed of their movement? Like I know that he said that it's like running water and a cat movement or a cat's movement, but like I'm so curious as to like how that would be perceived. And the Drakari actively lean into it for the vibe. I love that.
Because they don't even need to talk to do it. The Eldar can have an entire conversation with subtle gestures all without a single word. Aside from probably being a handy skill to have in the thick of combat, I really do think it'd just be unsettling to watch happen as a human. It'd be like being the only person in a D&D party that doesn't have access to the message cantrip. Everyone else is speaking in their respective minds, because why not? But you, the poor bastard who didn't pick a wizard because someone needed to be the tank, just watch your friends blink and occasionally furrow their eyebrows before they announce the next plan of action. I'm speaking from experience on that one, by the way, although I wasn't the poor bastard. Wasn't quite an all-wizard party since it was Star Wars, but turns out when all but one party member is a Sith, then one person has to miss out on the rebranded D&D spell. In combat, they put that inhuman grace to warfare, and an Eldar invasion is shock and awe at its highest extent. Remember how I said Marines cause transhuman dread in part because something that big and bulky shouldn't be moving that quickly? The Eldar move faster than the Marines. Before you yell at me, go look at their respective tabletop speeds. Space Marines can cross a battlefield before you can finish blinking. The Eldar do it before you can start. So suddenly everything's on fire, your squad's dead, and just as your brain finally processes what the hell is happening, you've a sword through your gut and the Eldar that put it there is already leaping to the next target. And of course, they're all magic, or at the very least, they all have the potential to be magic.
But, okay, so we have games that are perceived as canon, right? Like Space Marine 2 is perceived as canon in the Warhammer universe, correct? Now, you still do move pretty quickly as a Space Marine there, but is that like the speed in which they're implying that you're moving faster than you should? Because I feel like our movement in Space Marine 2 is pretty expected, right? Like you are a lumbering tank when you're running in Space Marine. Like you are a lumbering tank. It's very clear that you're running with momentum because of the weight, but you're not super fast. Like you're certainly not super fast. Because it feels like it's an exaggeration right now on his part.
Magical. From humanity's perspective, this comes with all the baggage that sort of thing comes with in Warhammer. As far as humanity is concerned, every psyker's a time bomb. Sooner or later, it'll probably end badly for them and everyone around them. Now an Eldar party comes along and, oh look at that, you're surrounded by psykers. Ultimately though, the real reason the Eldar are so unsettling comes from the fact they look so human. They're thin and lanky and far too gorgeous, but they still look human. But everything about them is just wrong enough to give you the impression that they're wearing a skin suit, or they're an imposter, or any other reason you can think of as...
No, in the books, the Marines move at unreactable speed. Does that mean that, like, all the fights would be, like, a really dramatic, like, anime clash? When you have, like, two Primarchs fighting? Like, you're just gonna see, like, the blades moving and a bunch of, like, blurs.
Why something so alien looks so close to human. It really is them living in the uncanny valley. For everything that makes them understandable and relatable, there's something else we just can't accept or even process as being normal. Aside from the psyker thing, the reasons for why the Eldar are somewhat scary are pretty mundane, I admit. But it would make the average person wary of them. They aren't human, and their closeness to a human is what makes them all the more able to make you feel uneasy.
The Primarchs are likely similar to Ghazghkull. Gene Stealers found Gaz to be horrifying because his existence extends beyond the bounds of physical space due to his raw Wa energy. Primarchs are similar, I think. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty interesting. Thank you, Orbos. I appreciate you. Mwah.
Easy. Talking to an Eldar wouldn't necessarily be talking to some enlightened being, though I will of course champion them being the greatest still. It'd be talking to something that despite how close it is to being human, every instinct you have would be screaming that it isn't. That what you're talking to is something you should be very, very afraid of. That your best bet is to get as far away as you possibly can so you never have to see it again. Except for Imperials in the know, and of course us as audience members, you know that's not really possible. Because the webway gates mean that no matter where you are or who you are, you're never more than a few moments away from the Eldar suddenly popping by for a visit. And with them comes all the fear, uncertainty, and worry that comes with the Eldar deciding that you are worth their attention. Obviously, of course, all this applies to the Dark Eldar too, aside from the Psyker stuff since they've let their psychic prowess degrade. but you don't need me to tell you the Dark Eldar are scary. Mother of all no shit statements, that, isn't it? A quick shout out to literally any Imperial structure of sufficient size, because in no particular order, here's a short list of why they're all horrifying. There's probably a massive number of people who died to build it. It's likely maintained by lobotomized human beings who also might still be conscious but unable to do anything about it, because servitors are horrifying on their own. There's almost certainly a huge number of disheveled and impoverished people living just under it in the worst conditions.
Picture the first Dante versus Virgil cutscene from DMC3 where the speed of their swords created a dome of rainwater around them. That's the Primarchs and the Eldar. Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. That's literally how I'm perceiving it. Zen, thank you.
Because the difference between an Imperial city and a Skaven city is just that humans live in one and rat people in another. And once the buildings start getting big enough in the Imperium, there's a decent chance that there's so many people on the planet that they're eating dead people for food, because mass cannibalism is socially acceptable in the Imperium of Man. If you include spaceships in this category, you get the bonus fun of entire shanty towns of people living in the same situation as everyone I just talked about, except now they don't even know of life outside the ship. With a dual feature here for this next one, we have both the Necrons and the Tomb Kings. Not in the traditional way they're shown to be horrifying, since they're endless marching legions of the undead at the behest of their commanders.
Yay!
Although, to be sure, I'm not signing up to fight either of them. These are more commonly considered things about these factions than the rest of what I've talked about.
There also used to be a half Eldar Ultramarine librarian. He's no longer Why would they make that Why would they retcon that? That's such a cool idea! Wait, why would they retcon that? Why? Man's lame. Also, thank you very much, Mythic. Thank you.
But usually people just talk about how awesome they are. Myself included. Praise be to mighty Petra and glory to Cetra. Imagine realizing one day that you really need to breathe. But you can't breathe. You don't have lungs. For half an hour, you sit there desperately trying to breathe.
Generations of families live and die on large Imperial Navy. That's so... Oh, it sounds so terrible. I mean, isn't that like the future of spacefaring for us too, right? Like when we start trying to travel, that it's going to have to be like a multi-generational thing to actually get from point A to point B?
Over and over and over, in spite of the fact that your lungs are gone, or in the case of some of the lucky Tomb Kings, just rotted to the point of uselessness. Or you look up into the sky and go to appreciate the nice breeze, but you can't feel it. You can't feel anything. You have no skin to feel the breeze on. You have no nerves to register any feeling. You can never feel again. All you have is either cold, hard circuitry, or desiccated organs, or even just your skeletal structure animated by magic cast by your nation's greatest enemy. Yay. There is nothing for you again like this. No food, no enjoying a warm shower, no cold breezes. For the vast majority of them, there's nothing except maybe the barest remnant of their former selves. Necron warriors retain the barest sense of animalistic fears, which is granted likely just to justify them having a leadership score. But the end result is that for the vast majority of Necrons, the only thing they're still capable of feeling is fear, and they almost never even get that. For a Tomb King's example, potters will mindlessly sculpt clay as they once did in life. They don't know why, they don't have a true end goal, be it as their job or hobby or whatever. They just do it, because all that's left is dust and echoes. And for both, this existence will never end. The Necron's reanimation protocols can fail, but this is either an incredible rarity or requires incredibly specific circumstances to reliably make them fail. Over and over again will a Necron be thrown into battle at the command of their masters. Over and over again will the pointless infighting of their dynasties take place. For the Tomb Kings, Nagash's magic was so powerful that there is no end to them. It twisted the sacred rites that buried the kings and ensured they never stopped coming back. And for the common soldiers, it's a mix of the mortuary cult's magic as well as Nagash's that keeps them from ever resting. Arguably, it's even worse for the Tomb Kings, since at least the souls of the Necron tier are gone. The Tomb Kings aren't. Whatever afterlife awaits the Necrons, the Tomb Kings will never see.
Wait, so is every Tomb King sentient about what's going on? Like, is every Tomb King, like, self-aware? Because that's pretty horrible. That's pretty horrible. Even though it's a massive fanfiction, I still ship Gilliman and Iraine. Those are going to be OP kids. You know what? I stan it. I support that.
Theirs. Though they all distract themselves from their situation in some way or other, the Necrons and Tomb Kings can never escape the fact that they're fundamentally broken.
Well, I only mean the Tomb Kings. I know how the Necrons work with it.
lost their lives and they will never know peace. Once again, this isn't jump scare horror, and looking from the outside in, you might feel more pity than terrified. But to be placed in the body of a Necron would be to sacrifice all feeling, all creativity, everything that makes you, you. To become a Tomb King is to know nothing but the endless desert winds stripping away at your bones for all time. It's a good thing that the Tomb Kings at least still have their skeletal mouths, because all they can do is scream. And for one last bit of horror that you might not expect to some of Warhammer's factions and characters, let's bring it back down to the individual level, and mix it with a time-honored tradition I've created for this channel. Yapping about elves. An Aryan. Pretty important to High Elf lore. 6,000-ish years after his death, the dude's name is still regularly shouted as a High Elf battle cry. Just go click on a High Elf settlement in Total Warhammer. There's a decent chance they'll shout an Aryan's will, because they revere him. To be fair, he did save Ulthuan, fought 4 greater demons at once, presumably fought a whole lot more as well as countless lesser demons before that, and started a bloodline that would go on to influence both the elves and the Warhammer world for good and bad for the rest of the setting. And given that his son—
Now, out of my ignorance, I have no idea who this guy is, because I know very, very little of fantasy at this point, but I'm good for him.
Son, ex-wife, and great-great-great-grandsons are gods in the setting, he's got no small amount of influence in Age of Sigmar, too. And he's a monster. An Aryan was a wanderer before the Great Catastrophe and the coming of chaos. Traveled the world, saw cool things, probably did cool things. He came back home to see that demons had invaded his entire country, and the rest of the world for that matter, so he started dealing with it. And he couldn't, and it was pretty miserable for everyone involved. Turns out the combination of the elves never having been tested in true warfare, as well as trying to wage a war of attrition against infinity, is not a winning one. And then he got news that most people don't want to hear. His wife had been killed by demons. In truth, she hadn't been, but to the knowledge of the elves and Anarian himself, Asteriel was murdered by chaos. And this is when an Aryan goes from noble heroic defender to an amalgamation of every horror movie villain, because if you know anything about fantasy, you know what he does next. He goes up to the Sword of Cain and pulls it from the stone. The horror of the first act of an Aryan's downfall is a lot of the same kind of horror that we get in prequel movies that explain a villain's origin story, and I do hope you'll excuse the next few sentences.
Are you reading what's on the screen? Are you? I'm glad I'm covering it. I'm glad I'm covering it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. You know, maybe my collab with him is a bad idea. Maybe I'm scared now. Maybe I'm scared now.
Because they might come across a bit pretentious. At least by this channel's standards, they might. That, and I just wanted an excuse to talk about Star Wars and Transformers. It's the same rising dread you get watching the Clone Wars every time Anakin does some new flavor of war crime and the Imperial March Sting plays. Knowing full well that this heroic Jedi Knight is going to turn into the Sith Lord due to canon, but really wanting it not to. Or like Transformers 1, watching D16's eyes slowly change to become redder and redder over the film as his world keeps breaking apart until he rips Sentinel in half and rises up to become Megatron. Side note, because I know a couple of friends in a D&D camp I am in watch my stuff, remember when you asked what Cadeite's end goal was? Is this: the droids will be free. But ignoring homebrew D&D nonsense, that's the horror of an Aryan at first.
I actually never even knew Megatron's origin. That's actually interesting.
And interestingly enough, it's addressed in the setting as such. Everyone from his best friend Kalidor, who saw his future, to the Elf Pantheon, to the Chaos Gods themselves were telling him that grabbing the sword is full stop not worth it. It is going to curse you and your bloodline forever, and for the love of God, stop what you're doing right now. But he was so filled with rage that most people who might have gone to talk to him just stopped and couldn't even meet his eyes. Can you imagine looking someone like that in the face? What else but fear would you feel when confronted with a man who was so filled with hatred and malice that he ignored the warnings of every god in the setting except for maybe Cain when they told him this was a bad idea? Because at that point you aren't talking to a dude, you're trying to talk down the Doomslayer with pointier ears. Whenever someone normal interacts with him, you can see the fear in their eyes. That was an Aryan at this point. And then he draws it and becomes more traditionally horrifying. For similar reasons to Gotrek and Felix, honestly. Oh, sure, hearing about the noble hero take on Chaos Warriors brings the High Elves hope and courage. But seeing this twitching, frothing madman rip apart a Keeper of Secrets before looking around with hate in his eyes is a different feeling to hearing about it. Anarion fought the demons of chaos in the same way Pelennor Whitestrike fought the Aelids. He obliterated them. The Sword of Cain almost completely corrupts anyone who wields it. I say almost because Anarion did eventually put it back, and Tyrion was purged of his own corruption. But all that means in the end is that they eventually stopped their massive murder spree. Until then, it was a non-stop rampage that the gods themselves could only watch in horror at. And I really want to just double down on that, because both interpretations of why the Chaos Gods told him to stop are terrifying in their own way. The first is just that they were telling him it wasn't worth it because they feared how strong he'd become if he grabbed the sword. That's less interesting, but also goes to show how monstrously powerful he'd be. By grabbing the sword, this mighty but otherwise completely mortal warrior would become a being so strong the Chaos Gods themselves would fear what he could do. That's its own kind of scary. The fear of something so monstrously powerful, the gods themselves fear it, like Gotrek. On your side or not, that's gonna unsettle you. The other interpretation is that Anarion was walking down a path so messed up that the Chaos Gods were honestly telling him it wasn't worth it. To hell with Khorne here, Slaanesh was telling someone to rein it in and pull back on their desires and emotions. That isn't horrifying, because there's no word for that kind of thing. Worth noting is that he had time in between drawing the sword and his death to found the Kingdom of Nagaryth. It was indeed around this time he took Marathi as his next wife, who would give birth to Malekith. And in the Kingdom of Nagaryth, it was Anarion's own house of horror.
Wait, but his wife actually wasn't dead. So, like, did he just remarry, or did she actually die at some point, or she's just alive somewhere and he's just didn't know ever, and it just continues? Huh.
Demons, cultists, really anyone Anarion felt deserved it were put down like animals. Which included, by the way, people who told them to chill the hell out. The elves there weren't far off from Slaaneshi cultists themselves, given that Marathi was partially in charge, and because the end of the world does not make for stable people. Other elves viewed going to Nagaryth in the same way.
Yeah, I know he thought she was dead. Yeah, I know she... Okay, alright, I get that, right. How much time passes for you to found an entire kingdom, have another wife and kids, while you still think the wife, your first wife, is dead? Where is she? Where is she that she's been gone for this long, where they just assume she's dead? Little Tomb King Travesty, Necrotext, they were the artificers of the Nehekara, and are now forever angry because their art and architecture is now buried beneath sand, totally destroys. Aww. Also, thank you, Necro. He thought she was dead and was unaware she and their children. So where are they? He founded a kingdom and kept going. She's in the Wood Elf. That doesn't mean anything to me. So why doesn't she come back to see him? Is the Wood Elf Forest, like, untouchable from everybody else? Like, on the other side of the world? So? Doesn't she know her partner is still alive fighting for her? Is she in La La Land over there? What is going on? They're in a What does that mean? The freaking Underhell with the Skaven is magical too. It doesn't mean that that's good or bad. It just is. She was Why does the magical elf forest trap her? You can't leave the... Well, that's arguably quite convenient, isn't it? Why does the forest not want her to leave? Did the forest have the foresight to be like, you know what? I really want the Dark Elves to be founded by his kid that with the other wife. Like, what the hell? What? But what is the forest? How is the forest able to keep her at bay? The magical elf forest is a dick? Why and how? Is he not aware of the magical elf forest? In his time that he founded the entire kingdom, did he not think to go to the magical elf forest to go find his wife? Even if she didn't know, even though he didn't know she was there, did it never cross his mind for the elf to go to the magical elf forest? Because nobody can be happy here? Because the forest is acting on Fey rules? Well, that's mighty convenient as well, considering I have no idea what Fey rules are. Because magic? Is it another continent? You can't really go search her with your... The man freaking soloed 4 greater demons. and founded a continent. I think he could go search across a continent. Because writers need it to be. Thank you. That's the actual answer. There weren't elves there before her. Just a magic forest. How the hell did she end up in the magic forest? What happened? The forest is like New York. Oh my, I'm moving on. We're not getting into the New York City debate. No.
People might view going to that one part of the nearest city, because it really was just a complete shithole. Only, of course, with the added bonus of it being a magical place, because everyone there is an elf, so whatever horrible things you can imagine, dial them up a bit. And let's not forget the lasting legacy of Anarian's decision. In his grief-fueled rage, he indirectly caused pretty much everything horrible in the Warhammer world going forward. The Elf Civil War, the War of the Beard, Nagash, everything that snowballed from Arathi and Malekith being awful themselves stems from Anarian's act here. That's the kind of realization that will make any in-setting historians have a Darkest Dungeon-style mental break. Anarian checks off pretty much every tick you can think of for why he's...
Okay, I have to pause and bring this up again. The trees saved her and took her there. How did the trees that are rooted to the ground save her from demons on the other side of the world and bring her to where they are now and then not let her leave?
Scary. Jump scare scary, dreadful scary, horrific scary. I mean, different things with all of those, I promise. This man, arguably more than any other, was the ultimate reason you can trace all the evils of the Warhammer world back to. Because while yes, the Dark Elves are
Ain't the Lauren filled with the horrible spirits as strong as gods? Trust me, if you make a deal with them, you follow through, they devour you. I mean, if you had every reason to believe your wife was dead, why would you go actively searching for her in some random forest on another continent? This guy knows about, he knows about the Chaos Gods. There's so much fantastical things. You're telling me that there wouldn't be some inkling that she's actually not dead. With everything else in this crazy, crazy space. Look at it this way. All elf lore is super complicated, interconnected, and super hard to boil down, especially to a new person. To me, that just sounds like the writers were lazy and made a bunch of plot holes, and then they just fill it up with being convoluted.
The ones more directly behind a lot of it. You don't get Dark Elves if Anarian doesn't pull the Sword of Cain. And while it isn't entirely Anarian's doing what happens next, I feel I should mention a little bit of Age of Sigmar here. When Morathi was ascending to godhood, she needed the bits of Osirian's power within the Phoenix Kings that Slaanesh had eaten. She consumed most of them with little difficulty, but...
Oh my god, I'm gonna keep on getting to this conversation. Don't good point wisdom. This is an entirely different space, alright? It's one planet. It's not the universe, it's one planet. It's one planet where there's the nonsense of trees taking somebody, saving her from demons, and taking her to another side of the planet, while simultaneously the most powerful being on the planet does not know that she has been taken by the trees to the other side of the planet that are keeping her there and forcing the forest elves to become a thing.
When she got to the first and last, she hesitated because even after all this time, she still felt some small bit of genuine love for her husband, and he cut her in half because of it. And while it was partially because of Morathi's vestigial love and partially because of Osirian's power, it was still Anarian cutting a god in half, while in the stomach of another god that had eaten him. Which means that fear the Chaos Gods had about him becoming potentially too powerful for even them to handle? They were right. And that's some of the Warhammer characters and aspects that are a whole lot scarier than you might think at first glance. I'm sure there's plenty more, but those are the standouts to me. That, and there's only so many ways I can say this thing is actually scary without it getting old. Thank you, as always, to my wonderful channel members. You are the overshadowed horror to my Warhammer characters, something always there that really brings things together. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching, and take care out there.
It was a good video. I really enjoyed that.
Anarian the Defender, more like Anarian the I wanna fuck your wife.
All right, then. Thank you. Thank you, Pancreas. As always, okay. Hold on, please. I will be right back. I'm going to put on some music. I'm just going to go and check on the baby and Yura, and then we're going to start the Milo video. Okay, I'll be right back. Was everybody good? Was everybody good? It looks like you guys were normal. Hang on. Myself a drink. All right, let's get to the next video. We have a big one. We have a big video. We have the giant skeletons of Lovelock Cave. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay, I just did some research on Anarian's first wife. The argument is dumb because she's 100% dead, sacrificing herself for her child's safety. Only her kids were taken by the dude through. A tree spirit through the world roots. See, it was not. It was wrong. I was right all along. All right. Elf lore is confusing as heck. Yeah, I can see that. All right. We have a really exciting one. We're going to be watching the giant skeletons of Lovelock Cave debunked by Milo. All right, let's go. You will hear me eat a little bit in this, but it's a big movie. Finish it. Oh god, this studio again.
Whoa, 40 degrees, baby. It's practically summer in here. Jesus. All right, if you are anything like me and are a big fan of ancient history theories, you've probably heard of Lovelock Cave. It's a remote archaeological site that's most well known for the strange human remains that were allegedly found there. And because of these remains, it has become rife with conspiracy theories that have found their way into the mainstream consciousness through their repetition on apps like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And as a result...
Am I just really out of the loop? I've actually never heard of Lovelock Cave, nor did I know that these were actually found.
Turned Lovelock Cave into one of the most well-known but most misunderstood archaeological sites in all of North America. So today we are going to be taking a deep dive into this site. We'll be going over the conspiracy theories and the videos that popularized them, as well as the actual archaeology and research at Lovelock Cave, and ultimately together be able to unravel the truth behind this mystery.
All right, I want to pause here for a second. The cave diving thing is always an interesting one, right? To just what you're saying, Strider. Cave diving is not that scary at its core. It's cave diving when you start thinking of like spelunkers, right? Like that are doing like nutty putty cave things, and then you're like diving in those tiny little holes. The worst diving one, I've told this story before, was off Cozumel, and I had to actually go through a small little crevice, and we actually had to get on our stomachs basically, and between my stomach and the sand, there's about an inch, because and then above us, above my tank, there's about another inch. So basically I was dragging across the ground to get through it, and it was like maybe about like a 15-foot tunnel that we had to get through, and your arms had to be in front of you, and there was multiple of us going through this whole thing. So at one point I was sandwiched between two people, so it was a little scary, but it wasn't that bad.
Once and for all. Howdy friends, my name is Milo Rossi, and today it is my great pleasure to welcome you to a deep dive into the strange world of Lovelock Cave. All right, I think the best way to probably kick this off is just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay. Thankfully, the conspiracy theories about Lovelock Cave are pretty easy to summarize because every single conspiracy theorist that talks about them is just copying one another. So honestly, I think the best way to make sure you are up to speed is just to let the conspiracy accounts tell you about it for themselves. Okay. Okay, but right before I start that, I'm gonna warn you guys. If you are of age and trust yourself enough to do so, this is the point in the video where you're gonna wanna grab one of these, because this shit's about to go off the fucking rails. All right, let's see what they have to say.
Everyone, I'm here in Lovelock Cave.
Lovelock Cave.
Lovelock Cave. Lovelock Cave.
Lovelock Cave.
Lovelock Cave.
Lovelock Cave.
Giants.
The giant.
Giant bones.
Those that appeared to be women were small.
What the hell is this?
Because the man was a giant.
No.
red-haired giant.
Red-haired.
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 And they were cannibals.
Cannibalized.
Cannibalistic.
An insatiable hunger for human flesh.
Dude, how do these people who are like trying to be professionals, right? Like, these people look like they're in their like 50s, 60s. How is it that you spent your entire career getting to the point where like you're going to be on a YouTube video and you're just going to be clowning around talking about how you think a giant is real?
Finger.
Dug up in that cave.
In exactly that location.
Like that guy with like the emo hair or the scene hair from like 2008. That guy makes more sense being than these people who look like, you know, what is it called? Educators or historians and shit.
To preserve bodies of giants.
7'7",
8.5 feet
to 9'6".
The other two they found were like 10 feet tall.
So maybe the 8-foot one was younger.
Right, like a teenage giant.
Huge.
Back in the day,
This guy really looks like he's ready to go for a haunted house. I'm just saying, like, no ill will, no ill will. He looks like he's ready to go to go ghost hunting. Doesn't he look like a paranormal investigator?
literally used to have in the circuses people that were 6 feet tall saying,
What happened according to Sarah Winnemucca?
Native American legend.
Sarah Winnemucca.
A Paiute woman named Annie.
And Sarah Winnemucca.
The Sitika.
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 The Sitika hold themselves up in the Lovelock Cave. And the Paiute people.
They piled all sorts of brush.
And lit the place on fire.
So as the fire's burning, the giants come out, they killed all the giants.
Now, if you're a Native American trying to burn out the cannibal giants, you'd probably be firing your flaming arrows from somewhere around this location.
So this matches the story almost precisely.
Though there is plenty of evidence.
Look at all the burn marks.
Evidence of extreme burning.
Of a giant handprint.
There was this black...
I love that the woman also sounds like she's being so defensive of it too, like, it's outrageous that you guys don't know about this. How could you not know about the giants in Lovelock Cave? There are giants everywhere. You need to be educated.
A pair of sandals about 15 inches long.
Fit someone who's about 9 feet tall.
That the redheads had, quote, long faces and were light-skinned.
Like white men.
Different kind of people than the Native American.
It has not been established definitely that the mummies were those of Indians, for their skin was much lighter and the eye sockets of the mummies were slanted.
Like Oriental eye.
And they have been buried in a similar manner to the way it was done in ancient Egypt.
Was it giants? Was it Nephilim?
Many scientists have become dismissive.
The archaeological evidence.
I don't know if you hear my baby crying in the background. She's already so offended by just hearing all of this that she is just like not having it. She's like, I am not having this conspiracy right now. This is the most How do people believe this?
As usual, just seems to go missing.
Modern science claims that the giants of Lovelock Cave were not giants at all.
There were giants here. The reason why it's been
deliberately obfuscated.
Because it points back to the supernatural worldview. It points...
Oh my god. How am I gonna get through this whole video? How am I gonna do this? This is, oh my god.
Back to the biblical narrative. I'm L.A. Marzulli. Thanks for watching.
I don't know what to say. I warned you guys. Trust me, if you thought that was painful, you have no idea how many times I needed to watch every single one of those clips in order to make that montage. So that I don't think I'll ever be the same. I don't think I'll ever be the same. I wonder if there's a DSM page for this. So I don't blame you.
Also, if you guys are curious as to why my baby is crying, it's because I can hear her. She's getting her diaper changed. She does not like her diaper changed. By the way, not to leave this forever in a YouTube video, but like she may or may not have relieved herself all over poor Yuri yesterday 4 times. Moving on.
If you just completely blacked out for everything that happened there, but luckily for you, I was taking notes. So here's the major bullet points. Lovelock Cave was once home to a race of redhead cannibalistic giants. There was that one guy in there who said something about them having 6 fingers. I don't know what that's about, but it sounds freaky, so I'm with it. Apparently their remains were found in Lovelock Cave, and they were anywhere between 6'6" to 10 feet tall. The brilliant minds of the conspiracy world appear to have not been able to formulate a consensus on that, but I expect a paper published on it soon.
Okay,
there was also something in there about putting tall people in zoos, which felt a little out of pocket, but honestly, I think is a great idea, and it has my full support.
Step right up.
Seriously though, I did really get a kick out of those kids. I feel like I could smell the dab pen in that video. And anyway, all of this lines up with the oral history of the Paiute tribe, who say that the cave was once home to a race of red-headed giants called the Sitika, and that hundreds of years ago, ago, their two groups went to war and they killed all of them in this cave by filling it with brush and setting it on fire. Then there's some other evidence they mention, like fire damage, a big handprint, and a big sandal. I like any conspiracy involving large footwear. I don't know about that one. You know, when I hear they discover a giant sandal, all I can think to myself is somewhere out there, there's a giant that's barefoot. And I mean, it sounds freaky, I'm with it. So where do all the conspiracy theorists go with this? Well, of course, it was a different race than the native people. What were they? Were they Egyptians? Were they Nephilims? Were they a bunch of white dudes? I don't know. The brilliant minds of the conspiracy world have yet to reach a consensus on this as well. And very importantly, the last part, the reason you don't know about it is because big archaeology, big academia,
it's big archaeology.
The cover up, the destruction, suppression of evidence and free speech, science bad, blah, blah, blah. Same fucking rigmarole it always is. Okay, so that should bring us pretty much up to speed on what this conspiracy is about. And like I said earlier, that really is everything you need to know, because these videos are a dime a dozen and all of them say pretty much the exact same thing.
Wait, hold on one second. I'm just gonna need the mods to timestamp this for me. I'm just gonna go check on the baby. All right, I'll be right back. Yours with it, so yours with her, so don't worry. But I'm just gonna go check real quick. Is she okay? What happened? Yeah, let's. Because remember when I fed her, the one she got spilled. No, you shouldn't. Yeah, I should. Why? I'm tired. You're tired? Yeah, I've been holding her for like 2 hours. Okay, that's fair. I was gonna say, I tried my best to give you more sleep. Okay, hopefully this is just not the whole night. I mean, if it becomes regular every 2 days, which I don't want it to happen, but if it becomes regular, we can at least prepare for it. What's up, gamers? Sorry. I needed to take a bite of food too. BB okay? Yeah, BB's fine. She's being really fussy. BB's still fussy. Yeah, no, I'm guaranteeing you she just wants to have a snack. Bubba, thank you. But yeah, can did any of the mods timestamp that for me? Because I'm gonna probably remove that from the VOD too. I'm gonna remove it from the VOD and from the video when I edit. Moving around here get a lot of money just by being a mod. Wait, what? Yeah, I have a pretzel. Thank you. Okay. Okay, back to the video.
I found, which just absolutely took me out.
Giant red-haired warriors.
Giant red-headed
locked in a
warriors.
cave and burned alive. This isn't Hollywood fiction.
This isn't Hollywood fiction. It's
the Peter Snipper guy.
I can't get over that voice, dude. It just kills me every time. This video is called Lovelock Cave Giants Mystery Finally Solved, and it's way worse than we thought. And are you ready for this? This is the thumbnail for it. Mwah! Just a piece of high art. I think the fact that the thumbnail is like a fake Fox News headline tells you everything you need to know. It's like a AI slop, clickbait account that's just made to like prey on, boomers with an internet connection. But honestly, I'm really glad that someone somewhere had the lack of self-respect to make this thumbnail, because now I get to use it in my thumbnail.
And then I get to use it in my thumbnail. Isn't that great? Just to like the people who gave me flack for using the Milo thumbnail for my reactions.
This account, which I swear I won't dwell on for too long, is called Unbelievable Tales, and these are some of the other thumbnails from it. So like, this is just how they roll. This is just how they roll. This is their thing. Okay, so we're gonna go over all of these conspiracy claims together later. But I wanna do this sort of like a murder mystery. I wanna give you all of the information that you need first, and then we are going to solve this mystery together. I think part of the reason why this conspiracy has been able to proliferate so much is because conspiracy accounts leave out important evidence that would allow people to draw the appropriate conclusion for themselves. So to kick things off, let's first talk about the history of Lovelock Cave.
Okay, I want to learn. Tell me, Milo.
Lovelock Cave was the first major archaeological site to be excavated in the Great Basin in the modern state of Nevada. If you look at its location on a map, you can see that it's located on a ridge made out of sedimentary rock. And all that flat land that you see around it is the remains of an ancient lake bed. This lake, called Lake Lahontan, was massive and filled much of the Great Basin during the end of the last glacial period. It existed for around 35,000 years, and at its largest, about 13,000 years ago, it covered 8,500 square miles. Here is a list of some other things that are around that size. I'm leaving this one up to the editors, so I hope they don't pick anything really stupid. Boom, here's a graph, just to make sure you're paying attention. This graph shows the high water line of Lake Lahontan over time. As you can see, that high water line fluctuated at around 4,200 feet above sea level, but at its largest, it would have been about 4,400 feet above sea level and 900 feet deep at its deepest point.
Damn.
Here is another list of things to illustrate 900 feet. Again, I'm leaving this one up to the editors, so I hope it's not something really stupid. But I will say what is really stupid that I'm just sort of noticing now is the most American thing I could ever do is look at this graph and convert all of the units into imperial. Hoorah, baby. That's how we do it here. He says, drinking a Mexican lager. This 900-foot deep part of the lake is in an area called the Carson Sink, which is the flat land just south of Lovelock Cave.
Okay.
If we go back to our map, you can actually see that the cave is located at about 4,200 feet above sea level, which, as you'll remember, is kind of what the average high stand of the lake was, illustrating that Lovelock Cave was formed over thousands of years of water lapping against this soft sedimentary rock. So as weird as it is for a cave in the desert, Lovelock Cave is kind of like a sea cave. If you know anything about modern Nevada, you might be wondering why ancient people wanted to settle here. Well, during the end of the last glacial period, it would have been a very different world. Pollen data reveals that what's now a desert would have been a sagebrush steppe.
Oh, wow.
And the giant shallow lakes from this wet, cool environment would have been surrounded by productive marshland. There was even enough moisture that some of the mountainsides boasted small scrub pine forests. For most of the last 40,000 years, this would have been a pretty awesome place. It would have been teeming with fish and water birds and the woodland creatures of all shapes and sizes. You can actually find fragments of this ecosystem that tell us what it might have looked like up in the Warner Mountains in Oregon. Now, in a 2,000-year span, about 12,000 years ago, the water of Lake Lahontan dropped about 600 feet. And by about 9,000 years ago, it had dropped so much that it just fragmented into a bunch of smaller lakes in different low-lying areas. And even though the productive environments were starting to shrink, they clung to the edges of these lakes. There was one to the south of...
I love that Milo is going all in, trying to give us the details of how this lake even exists, just to tell us, nana poo poo, these guys are stupid. I mean, obviously it's going to be a lot more than that, but like at the end of the day, it's just going to be, these people are absolutely off their rocker.
Lovelock Cave in Carson Sink that as recently as the mid-1800s covered 500 square miles, and another one to the north of Lovelock Cave in Humboldt Sink. Point is, even after Lake Lahontan had dried up, Lovelock Cave was still near some very productive ecosystems. And what do productive ecosystems bring with them? People. James Hart and David Pugh filed the first mineral rights on Lovelock Cave in 1911 in order to mine bat guano for fertilizer. As they dug, they came across all kinds of artifacts, but only kept the things that were really interesting. All of the stuff that they didn't deem interesting, they literally just threw out of the cave. Hart, one of the miners, sent a letter to Alfred Kroeber, the founder of the University of California Anthropology Department, and in this letter he says that he found a lot of old Indian relics in a very good state of preservation. A strange thing for a man to say who just spent the entire summer throwing those relics out of the cave, but hey, you know, to each his own. Kroeber would send a man named Llewellyn L. Loud to excavate the cave in 1912. By the time Loud had got there, miners had stripped down the top 3 to 6 feet of bat guano from the cave, and with it, every single piece of archaeological context in all of those layers. In fact, the only reason the mining in the cave stopped is because they hit a layer that was so rich with artifacts that it was no longer profitable to separate the guano from them. Loud, the man that was sent to excavate, also had pretty terrible excavation practices, but I'll cut him a little bit of slack. This was long before modern archaeological principles, and Loud wasn't even an archaeologist. He was just a guy that he liked being outside, and so they sent him there for some reason. But regardless of the heavily damaged site and Loud's questionable methods, he ended up recovering 10,000 artifacts. Oh my God! This is where the problem with his excavation practices come in, though, because he didn't register what layer they were found at. As we've discussed here many times, the most important part of archaeology is context. Artifacts are not worth a goddamn thing when they are in a box. It is the context that they were found in and the layer that they were found in that tells us pretty much everything that we want to know. So while Loud at least preserved the artifacts instead of just throwing them outside, you know by modern standards... Not to sound super ignorant, I actually never even thought about that. It's completely true. I would have never even thought about that. Like... yeah, I guess carbon dating, right? No? Damn, that's interesting. Standards, what Loud did at Lovelock Cave was just a step above what the guano miners did. He ended up digging at the cave twice, once in 1912 and once in 1924, between which the cave was heavily looted by personal collectors. And finally, in 1927, Loud would publish his report on his findings more than 17 years after first excavating at the cave. Now, credit where credit is due, even though Loud was a bit of a bull in a china shop in Lovelock Cave, his is the most extensive report that we have, probably because he took pretty much everything out and didn't really leave anything for modern excavation, but that's neither here nor there. Among the 10,000 artifacts Loud recovered were some pretty amazing things. There was baskets, mats, shoes, and nets, many of which were made out of tule, which was a reed or a grass that would grow along the edges of the ancient lakes. Tule was an important part of the native cultures in this area. It had an edible root that was kind of like a tubery potato thing. Its stems could be split and used for weaving, and its pollen could even be used to make a sweet candy. But probably the most impressive thing Loud found was a cache of 13 duck decoys that were stashed in a little door. Really? They're decorated with feathers, charcoal, and red ochre and date back 1,500 years, making them the oldest duck decoys ever found. This, along with countless other artifacts, showed the sophistication of the people that once called this cave home. Now, human remains are probably one of the most important parts of this story. I love how this is just literally turned into a deep dive learning about the actual cave. The actual history is really interesting. Because it hinges on the whole giant thing, so we should probably talk about that as well. By the time Loud arrived, guano miners had looted many of the skeletons and mummies from this cave. And we have no idea how many there were here originally because they were either sold, lost, or literally just thrown out into the refuse pile. And even Loud, for all his fault, made note of how badly the mining had damaged the site. He did end up finding a handful of remains in situ. If you want to read the details of those burials, they will be on screen, but I'll give spark notes. He found about 10 graves of men, women, and children. Most of them reflected their lake environment being wrapped in nets, and their grave goods included things like shells, feathers, beads, baskets, atlatl darts, spear points made out of flint and obsidian, and textiles woven out of tool, animal hides, and even bird skins. Some of them had been cremated in their burial pits, and among them were several graves that had been pilfered by coyotes, as evidenced by chewed human bones, and even coyote feces with beads in it. There were also many loose bones that mostly went as footnotes in Loud's work, with the notable exception of 3 human bones found near the cave entrance that appeared to have been split in the same way that an animal bone would be to extract marrow, potential archaeological evidence of cannibalism. If we take all this and compare Loud's report to our modern understanding of the site, we can piece together a fairly accurate timeline and profile for the people that once called this cave home. The oldest known evidence at Lovelock Cave dates back to about 2500 BCE, almost 5,000 years ago. These groups were reasonably adapted to their lake environment and left behind things like baskets and nets. Then at around 1500 BCE, or 3,500 years ago, kind of begins the golden age of Lovelock Cave. This is when we start to find a more elaborate material culture, things like slings, waterfowl hunting gear.
How deep is this cave that I'm just realizing it now, because there was over 10,000 artifacts found, right? This cave must have been like an entire city. Like, it's insane how large it must be, right? Archaeology is a difficult job, and it's sad that it took way too long before treasure hunters were replaced by carrier academics.
And those beautiful duck decoys. The coprolites, or feces, of these ancient hunter-gatherers shows us that their diets were up to 90% reliant on the Humboldt Sink, the ancient paleo lake that existed to the north. Their diet consisted of fish, waterfowl, small mammals, and wetland plants like cattail and tule. Some people refer to this as the Lovelock Cave culture, but I don't know if that's totally accurate because it's very similar to many of the other lake-adapted groups in the area, rather than its own distinct material culture. It's more like a little island in a sea of similar groups that, of course, is going to have its own little differences. Anyway, this golden age seemed to last until around 500 CE, at which time occupation in the cave seemed to die down. Seemingly around the same time, a large boulder broke from the cave ceiling and partly blocked the entrance. From here...
Yeah, so this had to have been a massive grouping, because the cave was populated for over 1,000 years. Right? That's how long it was? Yeah, it was populated for 1,000 years.
Around the same time, a large boulder broke from the cave ceiling and partly blocked the entrance. From here, it was used intermittently either as a place to bury the dead or as a place to cache goods. As recently as...
The cave is only 100... How is the cave only 150 feet long? It was populated for 1,000 years. How do you fit 10,000 artifacts?
Into the mid-1800s, where a Paiute cache was found with metal gun parts. So that's the general archaeological overview of Lovelock Cave. So with all of that understood, let's start to unravel how this fascinating but totally unmysterious archaeological site became a household name in the world of conspiracy theories. Wah! As you guys know, I don't do sponsorships on this channel. I get that we all need to make our bag, but given my convictions, I can't in good faith accept money from the evil corporate overlords to sell you a fucking app or a subscription to something that you don't need. I would much rather fulfill that side of the business by putting something into the world that I'm actually proud of and can stand by. Which is why my team and I put a lot of TLC...
See, again, here's where I get called out, where I've skipped ads before. When it's stuff like this and it's something that the creator directly does, I will always keep into the video.
Into designs like this. These bad boys are our new pin set. We got the Google Debunker Sheriff badge, enamel, beautiful. Wow. Another Google Debunker Sheriff badge. This one's metal.
That's so
awesome.
cute.
It's like that parrot. Metal. And this set of mini pins. Oh, and we also have a couple patches. I know you guys are jacket people, so, jacket people. Pause. All right, what? Jacket people. Guards, jack this man. Bailiff, jack this man. These here designs were made by my wonderful partner, a real human artist with not a single AI involved. And a portion of each sale goes directly back to the artist as part of my pledge to give back to artists in a world where art seems to be valued less and less every day. So if you want to help support the channel and get a nice pin down to decorate your backpack or your jacket, there's a link to that in the description of this video. We even have a few Northeast Tour skull pins left over that we're selling off the last of. They'll never be printed again. Myself and the team greatly appreciate all your purchases because it helps us continue doing what we do here, and hopefully gives you a nice little something that you'll be proud to wear. Okay, back to it. One of the key figures responsible for giving rise to the conspiracy at Lovelock Cave is a man named John T. Reed. Reed was a mining engineer and amateur anthropologist, also known as a grave robber, who lived in the area around the end of the 1800s. He was close with many of the Paiute...
Wait, there's still... Oh, you're right, it's a recent video! There's stock of it. All right, hold on. Let me go find the Milo stuff. Let me go put one on Throne. All right, Milo. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Okay. Okay, I found the pin. I found the... Okay, so he has stickers and the sheriff star left, it looks like. It does not look like he has the, it does not look like he has the one I like, the little badge. I'm a little sad. I thought the badge was the cool... Wait, did I find it? Okay, I'm putting the little badge on Throne. Okay, hold please. Hold please. I think that's cute. I like that. I like that. The little Google debunker is cute. I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just putting a little quirky thing on Throne. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing nothing. I want to be a cool little Google debunker. I watch his videos. I react to it. Okay, let me just do this. Doop. There we go. Added that to the Throne wish list. Okay, back to the video.
Families and was fascinated by their folklore, and allegedly visited Lovelock Cave in 1886 with some Paiute guides who shared with him the story of the Site Ka. He became convinced that this ancient story was 100% factual and began searching for evidence. At some point in the 19-teens, Reed caught wind of a 6'6" red-headed mummy that had been found in Lovelock Cave.
It scared the hell out of me. All right, yeah, I got a Google debunker badge. Let's go. I'm going to put that on my little desk setup. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Zinth. I appreciate you. Look at that. See? Actively, we're as a community, we're actively supporting Milo.
A claim that proponents of this conspiracy continue to make to this day. Reed took this claim to mean that he was right all along and began building out his own collection of bones in order to prove the existence of giants. And by build a collection, I of course mean pilfer Native American graves and ancestors. I wonder if he saw how ironic it was to channel his inspiration and interest in Native American culture into the ransacking and pilfering of their ancestors' graves in order to prove a theory rooted in Western biblical literalism. It's really amazing. Yeah. Once Reed had stolen enough bones, he began testing his theories by measuring their thigh bones. Among these was one that was 16.5 inches long, which he believed belonged to an individual that was about 7.5 feet tall, and another one that was 18.5 inches long that he said belonged to someone who was about 9.5 feet tall. We're gonna dive a lot deeper into these claims in just a minute, but now you know that the wide range of giant heights from Lovelock Cave that every conspiracy theorist in the modern day talks about, Reed took one alleged report and ran with it, produced a bunch of his own data and published it without checking any of it, and sort of spawned a theory that has been talked about by everyone from Old West tabloids to these kids I went to high school with, you know, hotboxing someone's mom's SUV.
But back then, thousands of years ago, 6.5 feet tall was already huge.
I know, I can't wait to get into these videos either, but there's one last thing we need to understand in order for you to have all the context. Whenever this story is mentioned, it always goes back to Sarah Winnemucca. Sarah Winnemucca, also known by her native name of Thukmentony, trying my best. Here it is.
I'm sorry. I really misheard that. I really misheard that.
Was the daughter of Chief Winnemucca and was a Paiute writer and activist who would travel the country sharing with American citizens the horrors that her people had experienced at the hands of their government. Her book, Life Among the Paiutes, records the first 4 centuries of contact and subsequent ethnic cleansing that her people faced at the hands of the American Empire, as well as personal stories, oral histories, and anecdotes. This book actually holds an important place in the American literary canon, as it is the first known autobiography ever written by a Native American woman. I was skimming through it while making this video, and it's a great read. I honestly feel like it's something that should be, you know, integrated into the school system. Oh, like that's ever gonna fucking happen now. Jesus Christ. Oh man, we'd be lucky if in 4 years, 1, kids even still know how to read, and 2, that the required reading isn't like fucking Mein Kampf or something.
Oh my god! You know, he's extremely real for that, but That is a wildly base take to throw in a YouTube video. Good on you, Milo, for speaking your mind. Holy crap.
Anyway, you can read the entire thing online. I've linked it down in the description.
I'm just gonna say, you have no idea how much respect I just built that just built for me. Like, oh my God, like God, I'm speechless. I'm actually speechless.
With the rest of my sources, and I think it's well worth looking at. I think there's it's a good perspective to be able to learn from. Unfortunately, Winnemucca's book is most well known today not as a harrowing account of colonialism by a Native American woman, but as supporting evidence for the theory that there were giants in Lovelock Cave. Her book is the first written account of the story of the Sea-Tay-Ka, and so it is cited constantly by conspiracy theorists. Now, this is a part of this story that kind of makes my hackles stand up a little bit, because all of them phrase it in the same way. They all say, according to tribal historian Sarah Winnemucca, but they're not actually doing this out of reverence for Winnemucca, her work, or her people. It's a facade for conspiracy theorists to legitimize their claims with an ancient story and to armor themselves against criticism by feigning reverence for the indigenous. It is honestly sinister and fucking disgusting to watch people use Winnemucca's work not as an opportunity to learn about her culture or the plight of her people, but instead to support their conspiracy theories that directly lead to the erasure of her people through claims of biblical literalism and the lost white groups of America.
Yeah, see, so this is why I understand why he does get as angry as he does, because, like, that's infuriating, but it's completely expected. I mean, we're dealing with it rapidly with, like, again, I am not as based as Milo. I will not say as much as I want to, especially on my YouTube channel. I will simply just say we deal with that and we see it so commonly, and it is extremely prevalent in modern day. It is so disheartening, but it is not surprising.
Despite how pivotal Winnemucca genuinely is to this story, she's talked about by all these people like she's nothing more than a fucking token. A cigar store Indian, a stereotype to evoke an ancient spiritual lore to appeal to a non-native audience. I could go on about how slimy it is to see conspiracy theorists use Winnemucca's work in this way, but unfortunately, this is par for the course for an ancient history conspiracy theory. I'm sure someone who's actually native or is just more learned in this than me would have a much more eloquent and lengthy take on this, but I want to say this here just to illustrate that, you know, you can be a fucking white dude and be able to, you know, call a frog or something, you know? Yeah. Call a spade a spade. Is that it? Call weird, gross cultural appropriation that borders on white supremacy, weird, gross cultural appropriation that borders on white supremacy, you know? Anyway, because of the countless disingenuous ways that Winnemucca's story is constantly used, I think that you deserve to see it in its entirety. I mean, it's constantly used as a keystone that holds this theory together. So I'm sure that conspiracy theorists would have no problem with you reading the whole thing. Right? It's definitely not going to make them look like a bunch of fucking sheep who just regurgitate what other people say and don't even check the source material because they're fucking stupid. I'm pissed off. I'm cold, it's dark, and I'm pissed off. All right, I'm not going to read the entire thing. It's about 700 words, but I'm going to put it all on screen. And I recommend you pause and read it if you really want the full picture to show that I am not twisting her words at all here. So the story goes that there is a group of barbarians that live in...
Milo does have the advantage of building a multi-million subscriber fan base, so he's not going to starve for voicing his opinions. Very true. I'm going to be very frank. I'm kind of terrified of YouTube. I'm very confident. I'm also saying I'm being really redundant, and I still blame my lack of sleep today. I'm very confident in how I speak on Twitch. I'm not too worried about saying certain things. When it comes to YouTube, I'm always really on the fence of what is and is not acceptable and what will make the algorithm bend me over. So it's really tough.
In the mountain near Humboldt Lake. The main emphasis of the story is cannibalism. This group would eat their own dead, they would kill other groups and eat their dead, they'd carry the dead off the battlefield and eat them. They were weird dudes. She says that they were brave and strong warriors who could jump and grab arrows out of the air and then shoot them back, a la Legolas. She says the barbarians and her people spoke the same language, and some of her people even tried to bring them into their families to civilize them, but they wouldn't change their ways. After a long time, the two groups end up going to war with one another. She says they numbered around 2,600, the war lasted about 3 years, and at the end, the group had holed themselves up in the mountains north of Humboldt Lake. She says that they were starving, and when they would come out of the cave to get water, her people would shoot them. Her people piled wood at the entrance of the cave, and the barbarians took the wood into the cave. Once it was full, her people gave them a final chance and told them that if they would just abandon their ways and stop eating people, they would let them live. There was no response, and so they started the fire, and according to Winnemucca, her people continued to plead with them to just stop eating people like animals, and they would put out the fire and let them live. But there was no response. The fire roared, and her people left before returning 10 days later, at which time they said, judging by the smell, everyone was dead. She says this group was called the People Eaters, and after the battle, her people, the Paiutes, gained the name Se Do Kara, which means both conqueror and enemy. She also claims that this group did have reddish hair, even saying that she has some of it sewn into what she calls the mourning dress, and that her family has the only one of it in existence. If there's some things in this story that you expected to hear that you feel like are missing, I promise you I didn't leave them out. They are genuinely missing from this story. Okay, with that, you now have probably the most complete picture you need without rambling on for another fucking hour. You got Loud's excavation and the reports from the guano miners, Reed's grave robbing and the data that he produced, and Sarah Winnemucca's 700-word anecdote in this book. From this crystallization, a whole host of other authors, grifters, and conspiracy theorists would add to, embellish, and twist this story throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. But we're not gonna bother sifting through the minutia of those muddy waters, because this is the information that all of it is hinged on. So with all of that out of the way, let's revisit our conspiracy theory videos and solve this thing once and for all.
Oh God.
Oh, all right. I guess now we actually have to talk about this conspiracy theory. I thought we were done. I was having a great time talking about real archaeology, crashed out for a minute about racism, but, you know, wouldn't be a Milo Rossi video without that. And now is the point where I actually have to start talking about this fucking bullshit. Excellent. I know what this calls for. Guys, I don't say this lightly, but if you're empty and you are of legal age and sound mind to do so,
okay, I have to pause this, and I have to take this as a learning opportunity. Strider, what does it mean as why your tribe can't whistle at night? I am genuinely curious what that means with the Native American culture. Why can't you whistle at night? I'll pause again when you have an answer, because that to me that sounds like the foundation of a horror movie. It's something about the spirits and the dead. I'd have to ask my grandmother. If you get the chance, please do. I'd love to know in a future stream. I'd love to know. That is so eerie. That is so eerie and interesting.
This is the time where you can get up, pause the video, take a piss, and pay a visit to the fridge. Oh, hold on a sec. Where is it? Yo, this is gonna be crazy. You guys ready for this? So yes. Instead, I'll pour it in this cool glass. Piss.
Oh! Oh.
If I see a single one of you say anything about that pour, actually, I would be shocked if I didn't, even if I didn't say that. That was dog shit. That was really bad. So Z and I were looking at all the stuff on Fourth Wall, the like merch provider that we do, and we were trying to think of some cool new designs.
Yeah, I should realize it was Fourth
and we
Wall.
saw that they made glasses, and we were like, we should try what the print is like. So Z threw together this design to test what the glass printing was like. I fucking absolutely love it. We were debating, we were like, is it weird to put a dead guy on a drinking glass? I have no idea if that's ethical or not. I mean, I don't seem to have much of a problem with it. If I was dead for 5,000 years and someone put me on a glass of beer, I would be fucking honored. And then we also tried this glass, the tall glass with a different guy.
I like the other
different
glass.
Design on it. I personally don't think it's that weird to drink out of a glass with a dead guy on it. It's better than drinking out of a glass with a dead guy in it, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what the general consensus is, so if you guys would drink out of a glass with a dead...
I always love when, like, big creators make merch, because, like, you know, as a VTuber, merch is really straightforward for us, right? Because we are a character in and of itself, so we get merch pretty early. Most VTubers start making merch when they're, like, in their infancy. I always say that they make it too early. But, like... I have done several merch drops already, and it's like, it's wild to think about, like, because it's so cool when you see someone like Miles like, oh yeah, we're making a glass, and I'm like, I'm surprised that you haven't done 30 glasses, like, you're massive, that's crazy to me, but it's really cool, it's just really funny, because like, you think about what I have, right, I have coffee coming, I have the Dockies, I have a plush, you know, all that good stuff. So it's just, I don't know, it's cool. I find it really cool. It sounds weird to think that it's cool, but I think it's cool.
Guy on it, let me know, and we'll put it on the store, but I didn't want to just fucking send it with that. That's pretty bold. Obviously, the biggest part of the Lovelock Cave story is the claim about giants. So I think this is the claim that we should analyze first. Real quick, let's just get a little refresher from our conspiracy friends.
Giants.
The giant.
But skeletal remains of extraordinary proportions.
Dug up in that cave.
7'7".
8.5 feet.
To 9'6".
It's between 8 and 10 feet tall.
10 feet tall.
To 10 feet tall.
They literally used to have in the circuses people that were 6 feet.
7.
Saying, step right up.
Look, I had to just throw that one in there again, okay? I'm sorry. It's potentially one of the greatest lines and deliveries I have heard in my entire time doing this channel. It's so earnest. It fucking kills me every time. You'll notice that these numbers are all over the place, from 6'6" to 8 feet tall, all the way up to 10 feet. So I think a logical question is, where are they actually getting these numbers from? Well, I guess the sort of underwhelming answer is they're getting them from each other. These are conspiracy theorists, after all. They're not actually researching anything. Their research involves just watching a video about another person talking about the same thing and then just regurgitating their same points. We see it all the time on this channel. It's your classic conspiracy theory human centipede. But no matter how much human centipede is going on here, these numbers have to come from somewhere, and luckily for you, I can tell you exactly where. Let's start with the one that's 6'6" because it's the most closely tied to reality. Allegedly, a 6'6" red-haired mummy was found during the cave's excavation. When conspiracy theorists elaborate on this, it's sort of implied that Loud is the one that found it during his archaeological excavation, but it was actually discovered by James Hart, one of the miners who bought the mining rights to the cave in the beginning. And the only reason we know about this discovery is from an anecdote from Hart, who was talking about it almost 15 years later. The physical remains themselves were never documented in any way, and we have no actual evidence at all that it ever even existed.
Oh my God.
So how does this claim line up with what conspiracy theorists want us to believe? I want you to think back to Loud's report from his excavation at Lovelock Cave. Remember, even though his practices weren't amazing, his report was very thorough. And he does mention some things of note to this story, like evidence of fire and even some evidence of cannibalism. But you probably noticed that there was something really big missing. Something, like, really big. Giants. In fact, the only mention at all of not only giants, but red hair in all of Loud's report is him referring to Hart's anecdote about the 6'6" mummy he allegedly found more than 15 years before. If you want to pause the game or put the sponge down for a second, this is the entire anecdote.
In the south end of the cave, about 20 feet deep, we unearthed some skeletons. In the north central part of the cave, about 4 feet deep, was a striking looking body of a man 6 feet 6 inches tall. His body was mummified and his hair distinctly red. There was a grass rope about his neck with a knot under the left ear. The rope was about 8 feet long. The feet were bound together from the ankle to above the knees with stout rope. The mummification was complete except for the part of the abdomen. The other mummies all had red hair. I think there were either 4 or 5. Those that appeared to be women were small, something like a Japanese woman in height. Bro, how do you manage to slide in casual, like, okay, all right. This was not altogether due to the shrinking of the bodies and mummifying, because the man was a giant. The woman had on moccasins, which reached clear to her knees. The buckskin was beaded with shells. 2 of them had on a kind of buckskin coat gown that came down to the knees. These bodies were from the deep south end of the cave. How do you go into these types of details and then you don't know if there's 4 or 5 mummies? It's not like you're saying, oh, there's like 600 or 601. You know, it's not like you have a big number to confuse you. You're literally saying like, oh, I don't know, it's like 4 or 5. But the height, Japanese woman. Like, really? Really?
That Loud quoted from Hart in his paper. So to make this exceptionally clear, throughout his entire report, he makes no mention about their size, their hair color, their race, or any other anomalies, despite modern conspiracy theorists sort of implying that he did. It is worth noting that 6'6" isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. Sure, it's pretty tall, but it's not like completely impossible. But whether it's believable or not is kind of besides the point. The point is that we do not have any evidence of this discovery whatsoever, making the claim of the 6'6" red-headed mummy essentially just hearsay. Now let's have a look at the 8 to 10 footers. These claims all come from our boy Reed the Grave Robber. As you'll remember, Reed didn't get these numbers from measuring skeletons, he got them from measuring femurs. There was the 6.5-inch femur that he said belonged to someone that was 7'7", and the 18.5-inch femur that he said belonged to someone that was about 9'6". While this claim is definitely out there, it can be kind of easy for most people to accept it at face value for one particular reason. I know how big an average person is, and those people would be really big. But what I don't know is how big an average femur is. Obviously, it varies a lot based on your age, sex, ethnicity, health, etc. But a spitball park estimate for the size of the average human femur would be around 17 inches. Now, with that piece of information, these results might seem a little bit more suspicious. So considering that you watching this very well may have a femur that is the size of one of the ones that Reed measured and are most likely not 9.5 feet tall, we have to ask ourselves, how did Reed mess this up so badly? Well, the way that Reed got these numbers is by measuring these thigh bones against his own thigh bone. This might seem kind of clever. It's probably what I would do if I was robbing graves, you know? But there's actually a couple problems here. The least of which is that getting an average height for an individual based on a single bone is not super accurate, especially for someone with absolutely no experience in osteology. But the real problem with this is something that is just so much more painfully simple. Most people have no idea where your femur is actually placed in your leg. It's more than likely that Reed would measure the femurs while he was, sitting down, and he was measuring the length of his femur from his knee to somewhere around his crotch.
Oh, no.
But even though this is where you can kind of see your femur, your femur doesn't end here. It goes all the way up to a socket in your hip. So the way that Reed was measuring these femurs was producing an error of between 4 and 6 inches, which is an absolutely enormous error and would make anyone's femur look like it came from a giant. Okay, so that on its own pretty much completely destroys the 8 to 10 foot argument, but there's a little more to this story. I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but Reed's collection of stolen human remains that he based all of this data on ended up just sort of disappearing, and only his data remained. So for years after his death, conspiracy grifters republished and spread his data far and wide, and there was no real way to actually check any of it. But then in 1977, during a clean out of storage of the Nevada Historical Society, they found Reed's entire collection in boxes. These boxes contained a total of 31 burials. Among them, many of the remains that Reed had used to get this data. Now, scientists have a bit of a sense of humor. So even though you don't really need too much evidence to write off the 8 to 10 foot people claim, these rediscovered remains were subjected to osteological analysis. And lo and behold, when they were re-examined by people that actually knew what they were doing, they found that these individuals ranged in height from 5'5" to about 5'11", and that the men were anywhere from about 5'10" up to 6 feet. Tall for the time, certainly, but absolutely not giants. I gotta hammer that home, because if we start counting 5'10" as giants, we have just unlocked an insufferable breed of man that has never been seen on this planet.
All my 5'11" pocket princes in chat, you guys are validated. You're now giants. How does it feel? Do you guys feel good about yourselves?
Before. Yeah, I'm 5'10", but back in if we lived in Lovelock Cave, I would pretty much be a giant. What's interesting is that if we never actually found Reed's collections, we'd have no real way of proving him wrong. Even though his evidence is highly improbable, this just goes to show how important it is to have real physical evidence and how dangerous it can be to just rely on someone's word. So to put that all together, the claim that Lovelock Cave was home to giants between 6'6" and 10 feet tall rely on the claims of a miner from the early 1900s and a biblical fanatic who had no idea what he was doing. In short, I can tell you, backed by evidence and with the utmost certainty, that there were never any giants in Lovelock Cave. Whew, okay.
I mean, you guys are a lot taller than me. I'm 5'5". I'm tiny. Well, if you ask Yura will like, oh no, we're average. I'm like, I don't feel average. Chad always seems like they're like 5'11", 6 foot.
Okay, that's a pretty big one out of the way. So now let's move on to something even more scary than giants. Redheads.
Redheads are they're kind of terrifying, I won't lie.
New video, Milo debunks redheads. This is gonna do fucking numbers, people. All right, same drill as last time. Let's get a little refresher from our conspiracy people.
The mummified remains with distinctive reddish hair. red hair that glowed like fire in sunlight.
I don't know why I thought you needed a refresher for that one. It's pretty simple, really. I just wanted to throw some more clips in because they're just so damn funny. All right, so in the grand scheme of things, this redhead thing isn't quite as pressing because it's not as egregious as giants. The giants thing implies that they were a different race. It's used as a piece of biblical literalism. It's a lot more sort of nefarious than the redhead claim. But it does have a little bit of subtext around it that's worth looking into. The main origin of this claim comes from the discovery of Hart's 6'6".
No, we of the Council of over 6 feet do not recognize 5'10" and 5'11" manlets into our giant ranks. Oh my god. I feel bad because I'm 6'7". Everyone calls me a giant. No, because now you have the 5'11" pocket princes joining you.
Red-headed mummy. And while we don't have any evidence for that discovery, the challenging thing here is what actually constitutes redhead. Everyone views color sort of differently. If you've ever played Hues and Cues, you know that. That said, samples from both Reed's and Loud's excavations have been described as having a rusty reddish hair. So I'm willing to be generous here and say that red hair isn't totally incorrect, and that this rusty brown reddish color is kind of what you would expect for red hair for the Native American phenotype that has straight, dark brown or black hair. There's also some evidence that this redness may have been accentuated after death. Hair will often lighten during the mummification process, which can lead to it looking more red, and many of these graves were decorated with red ochre, which could have stained the hair as well. Now, I'm not going to pick that evidence apart that much, because again, it really doesn't matter. But the red hair thing matters for a totally different reason. The real reason that the red hair claim matters is because of people's perception of red hair. When most people think of red hair, they're thinking of the vibrant, bright, orangey red hair phenotype for white people. So even though it's very possible and potentially accurate to describe these individuals as having reddish hair, when conspiracy theorists say red-haired giants, they're conjuring an image to your mind of like an enormous Irish guy. Now, I don't want to go so far as to say that this is intentionally the direction they're trying to steer this, but it is worth noting that, true or not, the red hair claim is something that really is kind of a entry-level drug into some of the racialist subtext in this story.
Right.
So I'm not going to split red hairs over this anymore, but I thought that was important to mention. Now let's move on to the only thing worse than redheads: cannibalism.
All right, well, I mean, it's a pretty subjective thing, right? Do we really think cannibals are inherently worse than redheads? You know, this is where I'm going to make my call to the comment section. Are cannibals worse than redheads? Like and subscribe.
The big sort of gasp moment in this campfire story is cannibalism. Not only were these giants redheads, but they ate people. I know, you didn't think it could get any worse. I remember a long time ago in a video I made like a dig like that at people who are left-handed.
Sorry, I'm not left-handed because I'm not a fucking loser.
And let me tell you, people lit me up for that. I could hear them clattering away with only their left hand. That's not how that works. But to all my left-handed viewers out there, I'd like to formally bury the hatchet because I have now moved on to redheads. Okay, anyway, cannibalism. Jesus. You know how this works already? Play the clip show.
They possessed an insatiable hunger for human flesh and cannibalism.
It sounds pretty scary. Despite this also being a core claim of this story, there is almost no evidence for this whatsoever. This entire claim is predicated on a single paragraph in Loud's report. Pause the game again. Here's the entire excerpt on screen.
Wait, gotta go back.
A single paragraph in Loud's report. Pause the game again. Here.
All right. Of a similar character was the deposit found at the same depth, but several feet farther back under the rock, in which human remains were represented by 2 adult skulls, some loose adult bones, an infant's lower jaw, and a few infant bones. These lay amid a mass of poles identified as willow, serviceberry, and chokeberry. Near them were found a deep coiled basket bowl containing a woven bag, a large flat coiled basket, many pieces of baskets, bags, and nets, and some peculiar wooden articles, possibly pendants, PL48D-F, 5 sickle-like implements of a mountain sheep horn, a wooden ball, and some Alavella shell beads. Unfortunately, the deposit far under the rock was slightly damp, and the artifacts were not as in a good of state of preservation as usual. Still, most of them were saved. All are early. The other bones and fragments of mummies were mere strays and not worth recording, except a series of 3 human bones found near the surface in Lot 7, just back of the Great Fallen Rocks, blocking the mouth of the cave. These have been split to extract marrow, as animal bones were split and probably indicate cannibalism during a famine. These were the only artificially split human bones found during all our digging in the cave.
Here's the entire excerpt on screen. Loud claims that he found 3 human bones that were split to extract marrow. He notes that this was potentially a sign of cannibalism during a famine, and also explicitly notes that these were the only artificially split human bones found during the entire dig, which again was pretty much everything left in the cave. So if there were any there, he would have found them. Subsequent excavations and studies would continue this trend, and to date, this single paragraph by Loud is the only mention of cannibalism in all of Lovelock Cave. It seems that this paragraph was taken, combined with the oral history, and then ballooned to become a major part of this story. I'm sure that some of you have thought to yourselves, well, if the guano miners destroyed the top 3 to 6 feet of strata in this cave, wouldn't evidence of this event be lost? That is a very observant point. It's implied that this battle happened fairly recently, and so these remains would be in the top layers of strata. But this is where it's important to remember that the miners just threw stuff out of the cave. So even though the strata had been disturbed, Loud still found all of the artifacts they had discarded. And in all of those artifacts from the top layers of the cave, there was no further evidence of cannibalism or giants. So while it's possible and even likely that cannibalism took place at Lovelock Cave at some point, and that it may have even been a nugget of truth at the bottom of the oral history, there is no evidence whatsoever that this was a widespread cultural phenomenon. And so the claim that Lovelock Cave was home to a race of cannibals is almost definitively false. All right, now let's have a look at some of the more strange pieces of evidence that these weirdos are coming up with. The first of these is obviously a giant handprint on the wall. Fellas, roll the clips.
Of a giant handprint?
There was this black hand.
Excavators discovered a handprint embedded in stone that measured twice the size of an average human palm.
All right, so this one is, I mean...
Even if a giant was 7 feet tall or 8 feet tall, their hand's not double the size. I swear they just come up with random details.
And it's just stupid. This thing's a goddamn Rorschach test. It's like people, you know, seeing the Virgin Mary in like a water stain.
Oh, even dumber.
This stain could be all kinds of stuff. It could be actual soot. It could be lamp black. It could be a marking from people exploring the cave at some point. But rather than speculate about those things, I'll tell you what I do know. And that is that the very first mention of this handprint that I can find anywhere is in this video. It's called M.K. Davis and Don Monroe Discover a Giant Handprint in Lovelock Cave, Nevada in 2013.
Talk about giant feet, well, yeah, a giant hand. You see it's got ridges. I see it. See ridges?
See, it's got ridges.
Absolutely, it even got the joints. So yeah. For me, I can see the joint part.
It's wet.
Oh, it's just too easy sometimes. It's just too easy. People will be like, Milo, how do you do what you do? I'm like, dude, you can do this as well. Look, this is just common sense. Whatever this thing is, it's pretty notable on the cave wall, and it is not noted at all in any previous excavation. And the first time that it's ever brought up is by a group of Bigfoot hunting conspiracy nuts in a video in 2003. Can I confidently say that this is a hoax?
Yes.
Not particularly. Could I boldly claim that they are the ones that created this hoax?
Yes.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Yes.
Is it strange that no one has mentioned it until 2003? Absolutely. And is it very interesting that the first people to mention it are 2 people who would have a lot to gain from a discovery like this? Without a doubt. Like I said, this thing is just stupid, and with the actual skeletal
you
evidence
literally
of
can see the wet paint
earlier, this is literally not worth any more breath. The burden of proof rests on the Bigfoot people. So let's move down to the giant shoe.
Was a sandal measuring 15 inches in length.
A pair of sandals about 15 inches long.
The famous 15-inch sandal, twice the size of a modern men's size 12 shoe, was confirmed to belong to someone approximately 8 feet tall.
Was confirmed, dude. I'm a reactor to the person doing this video, and it hurts my freaking soul.
Tall.
Fit someone who's about 9 feet tall.
All right, so the claim here is that there was this sandal.
No, I want to know.
Fit
Hang on. How does this man look into his wife's eyes or his husband's eyes, whatever, and like doesn't just be like look them in the eyes and say, "I am a failure"? How does he not do that? How does he like sleep at night? That's what I want to understand. I want to know what goes on in this guy's mind as he falls asleep at night. I need to know. Because like I just don't understand. I don't understand how you could say this stuff in good faith.
Someone who's about 9 feet tall.
All right, so the claim here is that there was this sandal found that's like 15 inches long and would fit someone between 8 and 9 feet tall. Again, no one can really seem to keep their numbers straight. I'm not surprised because something is bound to get lost through the human centipede. Now, I looked into this a lot, and honestly, I just have no idea what shoe they're even talking about. The one that I think they mean is this one, which they just keep using this same image. I have no idea what this display is from. I assume it's like a...
It's not a matter of whether or not someone can get to 8 feet tall. First of all, this is talking about in this era. I shouldn't even have to humor. I shouldn't have to even humor the argument. I shouldn't have to even humor that argument. The fact of the matter is like they can't take this and be like, it's confirmed that it belonged to someone who is 8 feet tall, as it's literally the size of a size 24 shoe. Like come on.
Regional museum in the area, but there's really no other like scholarly research on a shoe that's really big from this site. So I literally can't even like go into it. But since this is what we have to go off, for now we'll talk about this. Look at that shoe. It's barely even intact. It's like half of it is missing. There's more less shoe than there is shoe. I could launch into a whole thing about how a 15-inch long shoe wouldn't fit a 9-foot person, or how measuring a person from their shoe size is super inaccurate, or how trying to size half a 1,000-year-old sandal made out of grass using a modern shoe chart is the dumbest thing I've heard in my life. But I'm not gonna do that, because that would be a waste of my time and energy. Saying that this is evidence for giants is absolutely pathetic. So let's move on to something much more important, the oral history. We talked about Sarah Winnemucca earlier. Real quick, let's refresh ourselves on how conspiracy theorists view her story.
According to tribal historian Sarah Winnemucca.
What happened according to Sarah Winnemucca?
Sarah Winnemucca.
And Sarah Winnemucca.
The Sitika.
Sitika.
The Sitika.
The Sitika.
The Saiteka, the Siteka, the Saiteka, the Siteka, the Sitika, the Sitika.
Hold themselves up in the Lovelock Cave. And the Paiute people.
They piled all sorts of brush.
And lit the place on fire.
So as the fire's burning, the giants come out, they killed all the giants.
So this matches the story almost precisely.
I know I said this earlier, but it's just insane to me how conspiracy theorists will so boldly talk about doing their own research and so clearly not do their research. Like, I genuinely believe that not a single one of these people actually read her story. The biggest emphasis in Winnemucca's story is on the cannibalism. That's the entire rift between her people and the barbarians. And again, there is fragmentary archaeological evidence to support some cannibalism. She also mentions them having reddish hair, and even that she has some reddish hair that has been handed down through her family, something that is also more or less corroborated with archaeological evidence. She mentions their bravery and their agility, but she doesn't mention anything about their size. In fact, she refers to this group as barbarians, not giants. She never says giants a single time. I try not to stoop to the point of calling people stupid, but how can you turn on a camera and just right? not even bother to...
He's a lot better than me. I think they're stupid. I think they're stupid.
Check the shit you're saying. God, it pisses me off. There's a few other things from her story that are worth noting, like she mentions nothing about shooting them as they escaped the fire. She just talks about skirmishes around the lake. She also says that these barbarians were known as the people eaters, and the Siteka, or tool eaters, is not even mentioned once in the entire story. She mentions that her people gained the name the Seidokara, but there's no mention of the Siteka. Now, in fairness, there are certainly other tellings of this story. Like all oral history cultures, there's going to be some differences throughout, and I'm sure some of them refer to the barbarians as the Siteka, and I wouldn't even be shocked if some of them call the barbarians giants. But since Sarah Winnemucca's story is the one that conspiracy theorists view as gospel, it's the one that I want to focus on, if for no other reason, to underscore the fact that conspiracy theorists are a bunch of mindless sheep who will blindly repeat things that support their anti-establishment narrative.
He won't call them stupid, but he just called them mindless sheep. I feel like that has more weight to it.
I obviously think that it is absolutely worth looking at Winnemucca's story for a grain of truth. Many oral histories preserve fragments of real events, and it's really interesting to think about what the nugget of truth might be in this ancient story. While I'm not going to go into a whole analysis of it here, I encourage you to post your analyses in the comments. But there is one little interesting detail that I noticed in this story that's pretty interesting. Sarah Winnemucca never once mentions Lovelock Cave. Now I know she doesn't mention any cave by name, but what she does say is that the barbarians live in a cave north of Humboldt Lake. You'll remember from earlier that Lovelock Cave is on a ridge south of Humboldt Lake. So the icing on the cake for this whole thing is that in this story that conspiracy theorists don't shut up about, there is actual evidence that it didn't even take place at Lovelock Cave. It's just too good. It's just too good. I'm torn between like analyzing the oral history in like a legitimate way or just ragging on conspiracy theorists because of how stupid they are. For time, I'll just go for the third option, which is moving on to the next thing. And that is, of course, conspiracy theorists finding evidence for this final massacre at Lovelock Cave.
These weren't natural deaths or ceremonial burials, evidence of intense burning.
Look at all the burn marks.
Signs of violent trauma. Unlike typical archaeological sites where human remains are found in organized...
Okay, who goes into a cave or goes anywhere, right? And you're like, oh, look at the burn marks. I feel like most people don't care. I feel like, I understand that they're probably there and they're searching for something, so they're all excited. But like, I don't know. It's so theatrical. It's so damn theatrical.
Burial patterns reflecting cultural practices. The Lovelock Cave skeletons were discovered in chaotic positions near the entrance. The arrangement suggested people who had been trying to escape when death overtook them.
The evidence for the final battle that conspiracy theorists claim to have hinge on two things: the fire and the bones. Both of these claims are really, really bad. You don't have to be an archaeologist to see that there's soot on the roof of this cave, but that's to be expected from a cave that's been inhabited for almost 5,000 years. All of the soot and ash found in this cave is in line with cooking hearths. There is no published evidence of some ultra-hot fire in this cave, so the sources that say this are literally just lying. Similarly, every single skeleton found was a deliberate burial. Yes, some of these burials had been disturbed by both people and by coyotes, but from every remain analyzed, from the deep burials that Loud found to the newest remains at the top of the cave that were thrown outside, there was not one single evidence of violence on any of the bones. There were no skull fractures, there was no damage associated with arrows, and most importantly, none of the bones were burned. If they trapped them in this cave and set them on fire, their bones would be charred. How is it logical to expect that you would find a 6'6" red-headed mummy on the ground when they turned the cave into a jet engine? Do these people even listen to themselves? It's just, they're like, wow, the fire was so hot. Which it wasn't, and all the bones had arrowheads in them, which they didn't. But how has not one of these morons mentioned that all the bones should be charred? Oh, because it doesn't support them. I answered my own question, forget I asked. In short, there is no evidence at all to support the massacre and immolation of the inhabitants of Lovelock Cave. It simply does not exist. Now, we've disproven or explained pretty much everything up until this point, but conspiracy theorists, of course, keep rolling, which means that we now get to talk about probably the weirdest part of this whole thing. Yeah, baby, time for some weird racism.
That the redheads had, quote, long faces and were light-skinned, like white men.
DNA extraction revealed not only European ancestry, but also specific markers associated with Bronze Age populations from the Pontic-Caspian steppe region.
It has not been established definitely that the mummies were those of Indians, for their skin was much lighter and the eye sockets of the mummies were slanted, like Oriental eyes.
The Site-Ka were indeed a separate people, possibly survivors of transoceanic migration.
And they have been buried in a similar manner to the way it was done in ancient Egypt.
The DNA signatures pointed to European ancestry.
Oh my God, this gives me a headache. Again, it really seems like no consensus has been reached here. Who would have thought that a group of people that don't trust anyone except their own biases would have a hard time coming to an agreement on something? They were Europeans, they were Asians, they were Egyptians, they were Nephilim, they were literally anything except Native Americans. All right, it's really tempting for me to grab my soapbox for this one, but you guys don't need me to explain how gross this is. No. So instead, I can debunk literally all of this in like one sentence. There has never been a single piece of genetic, material, or cultural evidence to even suggest that the inhabitants of Lovelock Cave were anything other than a group of Native Americans from the Great Basin. These claims are weird at best and downright racist at worst, and perfectly exemplify how pseudo-archaeological claims, even when they sound fun and interesting, can act like a gateway drug and pull people into much more dangerous ways of thinking. I promised I'd refrain from my soapbox. I'm gonna stay good to that promise. This perfectly leads us into my favorite part of every conspiracy. This is the dessert. And that is, of course, their predictable final act. Science bad.
Scientific skepticism and the suppression of evidence.
Many scientists have become dismissive.
How did the scientific establishment react? Swift and decisive skepticism that bordered on denial.
The archaeological evidence, as usual, just seems to go missing.
Mainstream archaeologists, museum storage facilities that once housed the most compelling giant remains, experienced mysterious losses and transfers to restricted access areas.
The reason why it's been deliberately obfuscated, because it points back to the supernatural worldview. It points back to the biblical narratives.
That revealed how deeply the suppression of Lovelock Cave evidence extended into academic and government circles. What emerged was evidence of systematic information control that had been operating for decades.
Oh man, finish your drink. It's just the most predictable thing imaginable. The reason you don't know is because big archaeology, big academia, the mainstream agenda, blah, 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 blah. I love this part because it's just done by lying. You know the whole joke about the Nigerian prince phishing emails to like get people's bank account information? We look at it and we're like, how do people fall for this? It's full of typos, it's very obviously a scam. But the thing that I think is really interesting about those scams is that that's completely intentional. Those scams aren't targeting people like us. In fact, the reason that they are written that way is to filter us out. Because if someone gets to the bottom of that email and is still believing in it, chances are they are someone that is gullible enough that they'll actually go through with the following steps and give their bank account information. And the weird thing is that I feel like a lot of these conspiracy videos kind of work in the same way. People like us aren't supposed to have gotten this far. Everything up until this point has weeded out all of the people that believe in the cult of science and big academia. And so by the time they get to the end, they can just lay it on thick with their anti-establishment, anti-intellectual biases. And the only people left by this point in the video are the poor souls ignorant enough to have not seen any of the red flags up until this point. This is the point where the videos just become mostly lies. I want you to watch these clips about two researchers who are doing a study at Lovelock Cave.
Dr. Margaret Henderson, a forensic anthropologist who gained access to restricted museum storage in the 1990s, made disturbing discoveries that challenged the official narrative. Her research funding was terminated without explanation. Access to restricted collections was permanently revoked, and pressure from unnamed federal agencies forced her to abandon the project entirely. The pattern wasn't limited to Henderson. Dr. James Morrison, an archaeological geneticist who attempted to obtain DNA samples from Lovelock Cave, remains for comprehensive genetic analysis, experienced similar obstacles. His formal requests were repeatedly
like, I get that it's just meant to be drivel, but like, why would the government even be hiding something like this? It's not relevant to anything. It doesn't prove or does like it. Even like there's no reason for this to be like big, big archaeology keeping shit from everybody. There's nothing to gain from it. There's nothing to gain from it.
Denied through bureaucratic channels, funding for his proposed study was mysteriously withdrawn, and eventually, he was advised to pursue less controversial research topics.
You probably already see where this is going given the context of where we're at in the video. But all of that is completely fake. Literally not a single word of that is true. Those studies do not exist. Those researchers do not exist. But do you want to know what does exist? Those two people exist. The woman is Margaret Henderson, and she's a retired teacher from the UNC School of Government. And the man is James Morrison, who's a professor at the University of Delaware. This absolutely blew my mind. I figured that there was no code of ethics that an AI conspiracy grifter account subscribes to, but using images of real people without their permission and fabricating a whole story about how science is evil is absolutely insane. It's not worth looking into any of the science bad claims at all. And there you guys were, thinking I wasn't gonna get on a soapbox. I just couldn't bear myself to see it sitting in that corner. Unstood upon. Lovelock Cave uses the same three-part conspiracy template that you see in a lot of other ancient history conspiracy theories. The first part is the evidence that goes against the narrative, in this case the giant skeletons. The second part strengthens this by finding an oral history that sort of aligns, in this case the Site Ka. And finally, from this defensible position, the third point, which is just hammering home the anti-establishment narrative. In this case, the same tired script that it always is about big archaeology and the cover-up, whatever. These three steps are repeated accepted in nearly every single ancient history conspiracy theory, and it's because it's a brilliant tactic. Evidence that's shaky at best is made more believable by an appeal to spirituality, or by giving your audience an enemy to rage against, like the establishment that's trying to hide something from you. Like all conspiracies, it's not meant to be informative, it's meant to be emotionally manipulative. And that's the reason that they're so effective. Now, if you believed a little bit in this theory coming into this, I really don't want you to feel bad. I have no problem at all with the people who end up sort of believing these things. I will forever be sympathetic of someone who is taken advantage of. Being tricked is never—
Yeah, no, that's a very fair way to do it. Like, feeling sympathy, like, I feel like the person who does believe it is going to end up feeling embarrassed that you feel sympathetic towards them. But I would say that sympathy is definitely the right way to perceive it. Like, the grifters tilt me, though. The grifters tilt me so much.
For the victim's fault. But you lose that armor when you begin taking advantage of others. That's why the conspiracy theorists that I have a problem with are not the random people that believe in them, but the people that irresponsibly spread them and continue to manipulate others. The most frustrating part of this is that everyone would be able to draw an accurate conclusion if they were just given good information in the first place. Lovelock Cave is a fascinating topic with a rich archaeological history, Native American oral history, and fragments of truth that are worth looking at. But the real shame is that the conspiracy theorists pushing this narrative intentionally obfuscate that real information, and as a result keep us, their victims, in the dark when we would be capable of drawing our own conclusion if they didn't lie to us. But the broader consequence of this is that while a lot of people know about Lovelock Cave, no one actually knows the real story of Lovelock Cave.
Yeah.
All this bullshit about giants has fully eclipsed the real story of the real people that actually lived there. For 5,000 years, real people like you and I called this cave home. They shared meals together here, they slept here, some were born and some died here. And when they died, they were buried in graves dug by their loved ones. They dressed the dead in their finest clothes and buried them with feathers and beads and all of the beautiful things that they loved in life. And they grieved them in the same way that you or I would grieve the death of a loved one, a sibling, a parent, or a child. And these graves were destroyed by men who viewed their remains as worth less than shovelfuls of batshit.
Yeah.
Their bones, ripped from their final resting places, were thrown out into the scorching desert where they were smashed on rocks and left to bleach in the sun. And when they were collected, it wasn't as remains, but as specimens, organized, divided, and kept in boxes, and used as proof of everything from biblical literalism to America's lost white races. Like many aspects of Native people, those that lived in Lovelock Cave have been turned into nothing more than a commodity, both physically through the plundering of their graves, and culturally by turning them into a campfire story about a race of flesh-eating giants. A truly disgusting and dehumanizing conclusion that has become so normalized that it's repeated everywhere from TikTok to YouTube to the History Channel. As simple as it may seem, it's important for us to remind ourselves that the dead have no voice. They have no way of speaking up for themselves. And so, as the conclusion is so often in these videos, we the living have a responsibility and an obligation to tell the story of the dead as accurately and as honestly as possible. From the joy that they must have felt when creating an immaculate duck decoy, to the desperation and panic that brings someone to split and eat a human bone. If we allow ourselves to look at these graves and see them not as one of us, but as a race just inherently barbaric and violent, then it opens the door for us to start looking at people in the present the exact same way. And once you've allowed yourself to start seeing groups of your fellow man as inhuman savages by virtue of their race, then the only real monster is you. Oh my God, that was a cold one. I could keep talking about this, but I think my editors would kill me if I filmed anymore. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's one I've been wanting to make for a while, and I really hope I did the topic justice. If you felt like you took something away from this, I would love if you could share this video with a friend. It helps spread the good information.
See, I'm doing a good thing by being a shameless shill by doing reaction content. I'm sharing this with you guys. See, I'm not terrible. I'm not terrible. No, poo-poo, secret and doo-doo. Yeah.
And also helps get this video boosted in the algorithm so it can compete against all of the terrible bullshit out there.
Yeah,
like I always say, it's like tipping the bellhop. I make all my videos videos for free here on YouTube, and likes, shares, and comments helps me continue making them here for free, and it doesn't cost you a cent. So make sure to leave a little something. It helps us continue doing what we do here.
Go support
if you're really
Milo.
locked
Milo's
in
awesome.
playing video games and doing your chores right now, as I know you are, why let the binge stop here? I got plenty more videos like it that I'm sure you'll get a kick out of, and I can continue helping you drown out the voices. And if you want to support the channel directly, go check out some of those pins, baby.
Yeah.
Link to that is in the description.
Make the
Grab
glasses,
one for you,
Milo.
grab one for your friend.
Milo, I know you're not watching me. I know I'm nobody. Make the glass. I want the glass.
Grab one for your friend's mom. Grab your friend's mom while you're at it.
Oh.
Don't do that. I don't condone that behavior. And lastly, I'd of course like to give a huge thank you to my editorial team. I am the one in front of the camera, but they are the ones that actually turn this into something that is worth watching. You may not see their faces, but they are the reason that these videos even happen, so make sure to give them a big thank you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all very much for watching. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, let's start putting tall people in zoos. And we are capital D-un, capital D-Jean, capital D-Jean Franco, if you will. I know I will. Oh my.
I have to stop it here just because this is where the copyright goblins get me, because his ending video, since he doesn't ever have like ads on his videos, good on him, by the way, like really a class act. I'm not a class act like him. The copyright goblins from the musicians that are in these ending credits come after you. So we're gonna end it there. That was great. That was really, really great. Let me put on my music. I love that. I love that so much. That was so damn good. The gay infiltrator has struck again. No! I've struck again. What am I striking? What did I do? What did I do? I did nothing. I'm just here. I'm just living my best life. Oh my god, you're such a demon. What do you mean you'll accept gay infiltrator as part of my culture more than believing New York City is part of New York? Oh my god. Why are you guys like this? Why are you guys like this? Can't you be normal? Can't you guys be normal? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna just get some coffee and we'll finish up. We have 2 more videos to get through, and then we'll call it. Okay, be right back. I am back. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? Does this mean I can blame the British for why you can't technically be between intercourse and blue ball? Oh. 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 Huh. Yeah, he said, I am back. Yes. Okay. Let me put this away. Okay. That one's done. What are your thoughts on New Amsterdam? What do you mean? As far as the place goes? We're talking about weird stuff? Oh. Oh, okay. You know, I'm thinking I'm only gonna do one more. Just because I'll have a little bit more time to edit tonight. So I think we're just gonna do the Dylan. I think we're gonna do the Dylan stuff, right? Because I need a video. I'm streaming it. I'm streaming on YouTube again on Monday. So yeah, I'm streaming on Monday, so that means I need a video for Saturday. I need a video for Sunday. I need a video for Monday. I have the Godric and Felix video coming out tomorrow, I think. Let me actually look. Let me look at my studio. I haven't looked at my studio at all today. Okay. Yeah, so my Dylan video came out today, as per usual. My Godric and Felix video comes out tomorrow. That would mean Sunday, the one we just watched will come out. The Giant Skeletons of Lovelock will come out on Sunday. Then Monday, Dylan will come out. And then Tuesday, the Warhammer Protagonist one will come out. And I actually still have the Max Miller one, which I might either put in as a double video, or I might just put it in the reserves. It's still probably gonna be in the reserve. I'm gonna get the video done for it today, so maybe that will come out. Maybe that will come out on Monday. I want to get this video by Milo out. I want to get this one out. Take it easy, John. You British people doing British things. You British people doing British things. Okay, hold on. Dylan came out a while ago. It came out 4 hours ago. I did my Dylan video 4 hours ago. I always schedule them to come out at 10 o'clock in my time. British people doing British things is a more Pars thing, but he's not British though. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna skip the Caligula episode for tonight. I wanted to do the Caligula Max Miller, and it looks really good, but not today. Not today. Or, do I wait on the Dylan one? You know what? Maybe I wait on the Dylan one. Because I'm debating about how to utilize my time, right? The Dylan recording won't take a lot. But I could save the Dylan for Monday. And I still have enough videos and then some, right? So if I do it this way, tomorrow we have Godric and Felix. Then Sunday we'll have the Miniminuteman. Then Monday we'll have the Max Miller. And then Tuesday we'll have the protagonist from Warhammer. That's not bad. That's not. I like having Dylan videos in the back end, but I also am kind of thinking I'm gonna do a Dylan supercut tonight. Like I'm gonna probably download all of my Dylan videos, all of the evil ones, right? Like I'll put them all together, and then just make 1 hour long supercut, and basically just regurgitate more of the same content. I did it with Australia. I'll do it with Dylan. More Powers lost to a puddle. Unfortunately, yeah, I heard More Powers hurt himself. All right, so you know what? Maybe this is a good. Yeah, I know, Dylan. Okay. So I think we'll wrap up here. And that way, we'll have a lot to work with. We'll have a lot to work with for the rest of the week, especially because I'm going to have more stuff come out than I normally do. I might churn out a, not only might I churn out the extra video, but I also might churn out some more of the Nuzlocke. I'm trying to think. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up. I think that's perfect because that gives me a little bit more leeway with stuff. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, today is Friday, right? Tomorrow, I will be over on Twitch, okay? I will have a notification up in the community tab. I will have art with it. We'll see how it does. As you guys know what I'm talking about from earlier, wink. I love and appreciate you all. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the love and support. You're the best community ever. You're amazing. You're the best. I don't know what else to say. You're great. Thank you guys for being amazing. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be back on YouTube on Monday for a stream. But I'll have videos uploaded every day, obviously. Maybe two. I still have so much to do. I still have to make a short too for the miniature. There's so many things. All right. Love and appreciate you guys. Take it